Welcome back. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Easter, wherever the hell you are in your life at this second when you're listening to this podcast. This is Gigs and Ghosts, Series 2, Episode 4. I'm your host, Mikey Shiraz, and this week's guest is a man I've known for quite a few years now, a man I've worked with two Shiraz records. I've heard many of his records. He's been in bands. He still is in bands. He's a super producer. He's a super sound man. He is an ultrasound man, not in a hospital sort of way.
No, that's my brother. Actually.
Yeah. Is he an ultrasound man? Oh, my God. Well, here we go, people. This week's guest is Mr. Andy Hawkins. Good evening. Andy, good to have you here.
Hey, mate.
It's been a long time coming. We've been trying to work this out, but we've got there.
Indeed, yeah.
You are in Gigs and Ghosts Towers.
I certainly am, yeah.
Is it what you expected of the studio?
No, it's very different, actually.
What did you imagine?
Well, I don't know. I don't know where. I imagine the lights would be off, so I got that right. But,
Yeah.
You know.
Well, season 1 we did in Callum, who's here, in his, what shall we call it, your box computer room. Yeah,
okay.
And then we thought season 2 we'll up the budget and come to Callum.
Graduated,
to Callum's outside bar.
Okay. Oh, right, okay.
He's saying it like his idea.
Well, he was all. I don't have ideas. I just.
You just turn up and talk a lot.
I just know. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know that one. The song's about dogs as well.
Well, everybody likes a dog.
Well, of course. Yeah.
So, Andy.
Yeah.
How are you, buddy?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. So,
I'm exhausted after my 5-year-old's birthday party, but that's another story for another time.
Or is it a story for now? Did you have
Nah, it's not. Nobody needs to know about me getting pelted with small footballs by 5-year-olds. No.
Well, yeah. Did you have like a Spider-Man or any of that sort of shit?
No. It wasn't that sort of a thing. It was at this soft play thing, and all these kids turned up, and it was, as you'd expect, and all the adults looked really knackered, as you'd expect, because it was 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because the idea was like, oh, let's get it done and out of the way, because he'll crash in the afternoon anyway, because all these kids do. And they just turn up, and of course, once you've stuffed them full of cake and God knows what else, they just go absolutely mental.
Yeah.
So after I made the mistake of getting in this softball pit with them after they'd had the food, and I'm imagining some pretty serious bruising.
Did you get hyper and start punching?
Well, a couple of these kids is like, well, you've got a pretty good right arm on you there, mate.
Yeah, but check mine out. Boom.
Well, no, that's abuse.
Is it if it's your kid and nobody's watching?
Yeah, but with other people's children, I can't be throwing things at them. But yeah, no, it was a good do, but I'm very tired.
Cool. Well, and how we're gonna do these things is we're gonna start with the, as I like to call it, the boring shit. We're gonna talk the music.
Oh yeah. Who wants to know about that?
Yeah, but then we'll go through your past, your present, your future, and then we're gonna hit the cool shit, the goals. So Andy,
yes.
Let's start at the beginning. Mm-hmm. How did one get into the world of music?
Good question. My parents are as musical as a ton of bricks, so I don't really know where it comes from. Mm-hmm. The only thing I will say is my dad had a discarded electric guitar, which he never played. It was just some cheap thing, So, and my brother picked up on it first because he played the violin, and all of a sudden he realised that playing Guns N' Roses riffs was better. So
totally agree.
Yeah, well, exactly. And you've got to remember this was 1987 when Appetite for Destruction came out. So it was like, well, I had to endure him attempting to play Sweet Child of Mine for about 2 months, and I was like, oh God, I'll just give it a go.
Yeah, I can do this
totally
better.
failed. No, I totally failed. I was complete crap. But the seed was sown, and I remember actually. Funnily enough, because I ended up really being a bass player, the first thing I really worked out how to play was, you remember that Beatles song, Hello, Goodbye?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because the bass line on that is just one note going down the scale, I figured it out and played it with my thumb. And I thought, oh yeah, this is easy. I'm in here. So I guess it just went from there. But even before that, I was kind of playing drums and stuff. I just loved the drums. And a friend of mine, who we ended up forming a band with. He was a really good pianist, so bizarrely, we ended up doing this piano and drums duo, playing things like the theme from Minder to the local Derby and Joan Club and stuff like that.
I love the theme from
it's
Minder.
a great tune, yeah, and Hill Street Blues and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and the A-Team and things like that.
Yeah.
You know,
the 80s had the best theme tunes.
Absolutely, yeah. Mike Post, man, you know, the guy's a legend.
God, do you remember Manimal?
No.
It was a
Manimal?
dude, he had a special power. It was like the same time as like Airwolf, Street
Oh,
Hawk,
okay, yeah.
But his power was every week he could turn into a different animal.
Okay.
And on the site, you'd always see it. One week he's going to turn into a panther. But that was
Manimal?
Manimal, honestly. Do you remember Automan?
Yeah.
Yeah. That sort of time. It was like this English guy, good old conk on him. And yeah, just turned into an animal and solved crimes.
I've never seen that show.
Oh, mate, it was great.
Oh, I know what I'm doing when I get home.
Yeah. But it's like, even like, he carried on like till the early 90s when it was like...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, not that show.
Seriously?
That lasted a season.
What, this is a mid-80s thing?
Yeah, completely.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he could turn into a snake and stuff like that. And they'd use like... Because...
Like a kid's show? Or...
Well, just like that sort of thing, yeah, like the A-Team sort of thing. It'd be on like a Saturday evening, you know, you'd watch it with your dad.
Tea time
stuff. Yeah, proper Saturday night tea time viewing. And yeah.
After what?
Just after World of Sport.
Oh, really?
But it's like that sort of thing where, because
well, that's probably why I've never seen it, because I'm not a sports guy.
Neither am I, but you know, wrestling.
Oh, well, yeah, but that's, I
proper sport.
So. Yeah. I bet Elliot knows it then.
Oh, yeah. I've never asked him.
Or Ben.
Ben will know it, sure. But it's because just after American Wealth in London came out, and that had the great change scene.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
I mean, that's early 80s.
That's how, because my parents let me watch 18s from a young age, which explains a lot.
Because, I mean, American Werewolf is like a cornerstone of, like, movies for me.
Oh, yeah, one of the greatest films of all time.
No, I remember when I first saw it on TV, and it was just like, Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd read about that transformation sequence because I had this book about movie special effects, and there was this interview with Rick Baker, and they were saying, oh, yeah, well, this is how we did this. It was a pneumatic hand, and the actor's real hand is out of the shot, and all this kind of stuff. And they were talking about how this transformation scene took, I don't know, like nearly a week to film or something stupid. And it's a triumph of special effects. I mean, it looks a little dated now.
Well, that's the reason the Oscar got invented for special effects, was because of
that
that
really?
scene.
Well, of course... And then Michael Jackson hired John Landau and Rick Baker to do the Thriller video off the back of that.
Which I got for, I think it was I got it on VHS for a birthday, and I wore that tape out. Yeah. And there was always one part which scared, where one of the zombies looks at the camera and opens his mouth and the black blood comes out. Yeah. Fucked me up!
I mean, it's what? It's like a 20-minute short film, isn't it? It's
yeah. And then there's really an hour making of on the video afterwards. Yeah. Right, it's fantastic though. But yeah, Manimal did that on a budget. Right. They just had like some latex with probably somebody blowing a balloon going, oh my God. Yeah. But when I was a kid, that was like amazing. Well,
the other one that used to freak me out, you know the scene where the guy's face melts off at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark? Yeah. That was one of those earlier. And I found out it was done. It was just this papier-mâché head and a heat gun sped up.
Is it?
Yeah, that's all it is. So the heat gun's out of the shot.
Yeah.
And it just melts, and they just sped the film up. And it's like, that's really like just basic in-camera stuff, but you wouldn't consider it, would you? And because it's like, it's only ever there for like, I don't know, a couple of seconds or whatever. Yeah. You just think, I know this is some kind of schlocky special effect, but it's frightening.
It's terrifying. But it's like remember Poltergeist? When this guy pulling his face off in the mirror.
Oh, God.
Poltergeist
2 with the...
guy.
With the worm in the tequila.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I watched that and I was like... Ooh.
The old guy in Poltergeist 2.
Oh, yeah.
When he's singing that.
Julian Beck, the actor, yeah.
Because he was really ill, wasn't he? While he was
he was. It was the last thing he ever did, and he died soon after, actually. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sort of macabre death that's associated with the cast of that film, because, of course, Heather O'Rourke, the little girl, she died at a very young age.
Yeah, well, when they would just about finished filming Poltergeist 3 when she died.
Yeah, and of course just after the first one, the eldest daughter,
she got murdered by a boyfriend.
She was murdered. Yeah, it's just like, Jesus Christ.
Well, and they used real skeletons in the swimming pool scene at the end where the mum's in.
There was definitely some stuff going on that the actors didn't know about either, because they wanted genuine reaction.
Yeah,
like apparently reaction on the chairs thing in the kitchen. Don't know how they did that, but that was a reveal to the actress, and she turned around and saw it and like completely cacked it because of like, how the hell is that? So that gasp is real.
I think I know how they did it.
Oh yeah.
Ghosts. They hired some Spielberg knows everyone.
just trained ones.
Toby Hooper and like
the ghost that follows the script. Yeah. Well, you might be right.
It was. But it was like that time, like you were saying, like those sort of programs and those sort of theme tunes and just they're timeless. It's like from that era of films. Like I love John Carpenter films.
Yeah.
And he does all the music and everything, and it's just amazing.
I mean, I was a John Williams nut, really, I suppose.
Oh yeah, well.
But I mean, you know, you can't not grow up in the era of the first set of Star Wars films and not be really.
Yeah.
Because also he liked Superman and stuff.
Indiana Jones.
That time. Exactly, yeah.
But it's like the first song I ever wrote was when I was a tiny young boy, maybe the age of 5 or 6.
A mere stripling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we were, I think, in Dunoon in Scotland.
Oh yeah.
And we went to the cinema to see Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Okay.
And I was so excited. I wrote a song and it stayed with me all my life that I know all the words still now. And Andy, do you mind if I sing it to you?
No, you can.
He goes like, it's to stay with you.
Is it worth it? Backing me.
I wish. Well, I need to write this. This could be on next Shraz album. He goes like this. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Do do do. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Do do do. Repeat till fade.
Yeah. Okay.
But I sang that all day.
So you premeditated that sketch on what's that sitcom? The one about the scientists. No. The Big Bang. They had a duo where Raj and they did Raj and I forget the guy. What is it? Thor and Dr. Jones. There you go.
Oh really? Yeah, I have not seen that episode.
Yeah, it's pretty mad.
So so you're saying they ripped off my life? But sorry,
well, I would sue. Because I think you've got a case.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I went totally off tangent.
Yeah.
So you
started
playing the Minder
playing
thing.
that down at Darby and Joan. Yeah, never got as far as playing Indiana Jones, but you know, maybe we should have done. Maybe we'd have got a few more gigs. But anyway, so that was that, and then a few years later, we kind of. We diverged a bit because we went to different schools.
Yeah.
At that point, I went off to this other one, and but by pure coincidence, Richard, the guy in question, his dad taught at the school, and I ran into him one day, and I said, "Oh, how's Richard doing? I haven't seen him for a while." And he goes, "Oh, he's got this band together." And I said, "Really? All right." And he said, "Yeah, they need a bass player." I said, "Okay,
that's what I do."
Yeah, I'll come and give that a go. And I went over there, and I don't know, we must have been 14 or something.
Yeah,
we were pretty young. And they turned up, and I said, "Okay, yeah, what are we doing then?" Expecting them to like say, "Oh yeah, we'll do some covers." I mean, it was what, 92, something like that. So you're expecting them to wheel out the Pearl Jam or Nirvana or something, you know. And he goes, "Yeah, okay, so this is the first song, and this is the corporate." And I'm like, "What?"
I've never heard.
He's written all these songs, and I'm like,
one of those.
And I'm like, "Oh, you talented bastard! All right, okay. Well, I'll play along. I'm game."
Yeah.
So we play. So yeah, we just did it. It's like, oh God, he's just talented, isn't he? So I'll hang on to his coattails for a bit. So that's exactly what I did, and so we just carried on really, and then at that point the band was a little 4-piece because he'd formed it with his best mate at comprehensive school that he was at. And the drummer, chap Lee, he was at college actually. He was a bit older than us. But somewhere along the line, Paul, the other guitarist, he just like, "No, I'm not going to get." You know, he didn't want to carry on or whatever. You know, it was all completely fine. It was amicable and everything, but he didn't want to carry on. So we decided, do we get another guitarist? Do we be a trio? What are we going to do? And he was like, trio, come on.
Yeah.
You know, all my favourite bands are trios. You know, Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that, or essentially power trios, you know, the Who and things like that.
Yeah.
Especially Nirvana, that was the big one.
Yeah, I mean, like in that sort of era, Green Day and stuff. Coming through all 3 pieces.
I mean, Nirvana was the big one for me because I was exactly the right age for it. You know, when that record came out, I was 14, and it was just like, Jesus Christ, this is next level.
I take it, Nevermind, not Bleach.
Yeah, Nevermind. Yeah, I mean, I discovered Bleach after that, It was less my thing, but because I'm one of those few people that doesn't subscribe to In Utero is the best thing they ever did.
Oh no, it's Nevermind.
Well, I think so, but
Yeah, because they're bagging songs.
I just think the songs are incredible. I think Butch Vig did an amazing production job. It's that record that made me think that's what I want to do. I want to produce records. I want to make records that sound as good as this.
Yeah,
and I'm still trying. And one of these days I'll manage it.
You did it with Glorious.
Well, that's true. But I realised ever since that he's never made another record that sounds like that. It's just this weird sort of symbiosis of like they had an amazing studio, they had an amazing drummer, they had amazing songs. The band was just ready to be amazing.
It was the exact right time.
Vig was just at that point where he, Andy Wallace came in and did his thing. There's so many stars aligning for that record. But it's pushed so many people, whether they'll admit it or not, into music. Certainly of our generation, I think. Whether they really realise that it all comes from that, because that just blew it open. Nirvana blew it open for Green Day. I don't care what anyone says.
100%, 100% agree.
And really allowing the Epitaph scene to be heard across the world. Because until that point, it wasn't actually that big a scene. No. Like, no one really knew about it over here. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, come 93, 94, everyone was like, oh, yeah, well, I'm into Bad Religion now.
Well, yeah, I was the same as like 94, all I listened to was Iron Maiden and Pride and Glory. Yeah. And then I remember hearing, what was it, MTV Europe, hearing Basket Case. Yeah. Self-Esteem by Offspring. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Linoleum.
Oh, yeah.
And they were all on MTV Europe, and that just changed everything. And Black Hole Sun was on all the time.
I didn't have MTV for whatever reason, because I lived in the Midlands, probably. We didn't have cable, but what we did have was tapes. And everyone was chucking tapes around. I remember a friend of my brother, because my brother's 4 years older than me. He gave me a tape which had Motorhead on one side and Dead Kennedys on the other. And I would have been around. I would have been around that age. It would have been like 13, 14. I remember it was the first Dead Kennedy song I ever heard was "Take This Job and Shove It," which is that cover, I think, that they did. And of course, it's just mentally fast. And then Police Truck and stuff like that.
Police Truck's a tune.
And then there was another tape with Ride the Lightning and Dr. Feelgood on the other side. So, but I like Dr. Feelgood because it was kind of heavy, and it was like it's probably Motley Crue's best record, right? Mm. And of course, the band Dr. Feelgood are incredible as well, which is just another thing entirely. But
just going off tangent, the band Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah.
At one point, I really got into Motley Crue, and this was like about mid to late 20s, where like long after their best.
Yeah.
And like I used to go out with my friend Kerry, and we used to like write 6 on his knuckles, or like have a last name wrote on his knuckles, because if we got too drunk, it wasn't us. It was Motley Crue. Okay. And I saw Dr. Feelgood were playing at the Frontier Club in Batley.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, this is a Motley Crue tribute band. I'm going to go see.
Yeah, that must have been slightly disappointing.
Not Motley Crue in the slightest.
No. Hour and a half of turbocharged R&B, but like absolutely not getting Kickstart My Heart.
Exactly.
No. Gutted.
But then I did go see Motley Crue, and they were supported by Killing Joke. Oh, wow. Who went down terribly.
Well, yeah, I can't really... Who the fuck put that bill together? That's
God only knows.
I mean, Killing Joke are amazing, but totally their own thing.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you could put them on with Bauhaus or something, but that's about it. How the hell that would go down with glam rock fans, I've no idea.
I had Ben Carter on the podcast not long ago, from Evil. And when he was in this grunge band called Mary Jane, he recorded with the drummer from Killing Joke in Czech Republic, in Prague. Okay. And he was just telling me all these insane stories of their Killing Joke's band practices, where they'd all be just trying to kill each other. The whole room would be wrecked.
It was a pretty heavy scene from what I can make.
Yeah. It sounds weird.
I mean, I've got a lot of time for Geordie as a guitar player. I think.
It was Geordie who recorded the album.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was Dave Grohl who was doing drums on that album, and he kept on going.
Oh, on the Killing Joke record.
Yeah, with Asteroid.
Yes.
And so he just kept on coming over and just like going, drums are shit, go home. And he'd go home for a few weeks and come back and go, nah, this isn't right, and go home for a bit. Which doesn't sound like him, because Nicest dude in rock, innit?
Well, Grohl, yes. Yeah. Mind you, I mean, he probably... Was that around 2000?
Yeah, well, 2004, 5?
Oh, okay. So it was kind of in that sort of period after Taylor Hawkins had that OD, and like,
yeah.
You know, the future of the band was kind of in I was at that show.
Really?
Yeah. It was V2001.
Yeah.
Or V2001, one of them.
Were you playing or just?
No, I was working for a band, and I watched the Foos.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking something was a bit off, but like it just seemed too rehearsed.
Yeah.
Too like, yeah, we're doing this. And it was just like, I remember they were playing Up in Arms or something, and they were doing the slow version. He was just talking over it for 10 minutes. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? You know.
Yeah.
Somebody just got some energy issues here or something. And then of course, you know, then you heard the news the next day, and it was like, oh man.
Yeah. You could sense them at the time.
Well, something wasn't right.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you what it was. Mm-hmm. But it was the overall vibe. It wasn't him.
Yeah.
Necessarily. It wasn't just Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah, there was a sense in the band where everyone knows something's not right, and
a certain ennui with it all.
Yeah.
You know? And then of course, you know, you hear that and it's just bad vibes. But yeah, Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah, but so going back again. So you had this band.
You wanted rambling, didn't
you?
Yeah.
Well, dude, it's what I'm all about.
You're gonna have to edit this down.
No, never. No, we don't edit.
Oh God.
We have things.
Have you got a big hard drive, mate? You're gonna get all this out.
But that band you had, which you joined at 14, was that Midget?
Yeah, it became it. Yeah.
Yeah, and
it was at that point. It was called something really terrible, which I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, I need to know now.
No.
You tell me off mic in a bit.
No. I'll tell you later.
Yeah. But yeah.
No. You just told me you don't edit.
Yeah, we don't. It's a trap.
Yeah, I'm always listening. It's part of the problem of the job. So we got to the end of school, and I was like, I'm going to give this a go.
Yeah.
Because funnily enough, I was going to give university a go in Leeds. I was going to come up here anyway. But I decided that I'd take a year out and get a job and just give it a go and see if we can make it work.
Yeah.
So we all had various scrappy jobs. And in that year, we managed to make a little demo, and somebody liked it and became the manager, and we got a deal, and that was that. And I was like, fucking hell, it's easy. And I've since realised, no, it isn't.
No, it's not.
Extraordinarily lucky.
Yeah.
Extraordinarily lucky.
Because, you did a lot with Midget. I mean, did you do like Fuji Rock and everything?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was probably the pinnacle. That and the V festivals. Because it's really funny now, because I only live around the corner from Temple Newsome, which was where V90, what did we do? V98. We did V98. And we were out for a walk with the family, and we came around this corner. I was like, fucking hell, that's where the stage was. I recognised it, because I realised where they must have put the main stage, and then you came over the hill, and you come down to the bottom, and that's where they put the second stage, which is where we played. It was still quite a big do, because it was an open air stage, even the second stage.
Yeah, of course.
So it's kind of nice, you know.
Because I remember back around that time, I used to buy Kerrang magazine and be reading through, and I'd always see the Midget adverts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that would be in every single week.
Kerrang were really big supporters, actually, which we were quite surprised about, because
you were on Warner, though, weren't you? Was it Warner?
Well, sort of.
Warner Japan.
Sort of. Warner's technically, we were on a subsidiary imprint in the UK, which was owned by Warner's, but it meant it got released internationally by Warner's.
Yeah.
And we were talking to Seymour Stein, actually, about the American situation. Now, he passed away recently, I noticed. I mean, he was a huge figure, you know, he was like instrumental with Blondie and Madonna and all these people.
Yeah, of course.
A massive figure, certainly in American music industry. And so, Warner's put it out in Japan, and it just took off. And like we got this phone call saying, it's going really well. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, was it sold? What's it sold? A couple of thousand or something? And they were like, no, it's done much better than that. You're going to have to go out there. I was like,
how many did you do?
Well, it did over 100,000, which like totally.
What, just in Japan? Or?
Yeah, which for an international act is quite unusual.
Yeah.
Domestic acts shift big numbers.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but we got out there and we were like, oh well, how's such and such doing over here? And they're like, oh, they don't do anything. And we were just gobsmacked. These are big bands in the UK.
Yeah.
And they were saying, we were like, okay, what's Green Day do? It's like, oh, they do pretty good. And he named a figure. It wasn't much higher. And I thought, and I was like, what? This is mental.
Yeah.
You're talking about like, three kids from a tiny town in the Midlands. Like really, and I mean tiny. It's like the equivalent would be Garforth or something like that.
Right.
That's how small it is. And it's kind of the relationship's not that different actually between say Garforth and Leeds. In terms of the size, because it wasn't that far from a place called Peterborough, which is a weird.
I know Peterborough very
well.
well.
Exactly. So it's kind of like a middle-sized city,
of course.
And then there's all these little towns sort of in the middle of nowhere around it. We're just kids from the sticks. We don't know what we're doing. We just stumbled into this, and then 2 years later, here we are in front of all these people. It's mad. It's mad. I can see why it sends people bonkers.
Yeah.
Because if that carries on for a sort of prolonged period of time, I think people do start to doubt what reality really is. So I'm really glad that it immediately all just disappeared and we were back to square one. It was kind of good, really. I think it's good to have a peek through the door, and then somebody says, "No, you can't have that," and close the door.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because it can be real dangerous. You've got to be super level-headed. Not to disappear up your arse.
I got a massive ego problem back in 2001, 2002 because we had like a little inkling of success then.
Right.
Not 100,000 sold in Japan. We won Future Sound, and
that still matters though.
Yeah, we were playing Leeds Fest and playing around the country to like huge crowds.
Yeah.
Like we sold out the cockpit main room, and we were like it was like cocky as fuck, but I can't even imagine what it was like to go to somewhere like Japan, which is so far away, knowing that you've sold 100,000 records and play at a festival like that.
It's very strange. It's very strange because it's just it's another world out there. It's the same planet, but it's another world.
Yeah.
Just their culture is so different.
Yeah.
And very welcomely different, actually. Quite refreshing to go to a place like that and you just encounter those sorts of people. Brits have a reputation for politeness, but like the Japanese have got it next level.
Oh, of course, yeah. I've got friends who've played out there, and they say they're in the hotel and they go outside and there'd be people waiting for them to get all the shit signed, and they'd play a gig, and gigs would only be at a weekend there, but there'd be a huge crowd there, and as soon as the song finished, they'd all applaud like shit, and then silence and wait.
And all the gigs are at 6 in the evening.
Yep.
No support band. You're done by 7:30.
Oh, that's a dream.
They're always on on the 4th floor of a skyscraper above a shopping centre or something.
Right.
And you think, you go in and you do the sound check and everything, and you think, nobody can possibly be here. And then, of course, they all are, and they come in. What you've been told is absolutely right. Total silence between songs. Really weird. You do a song like,
Done.
Proper tumble is like, okay, we don't really speak any Japanese, so we're going to tell you about this song in English, and that's probably not going to go very well. But so I think basically we sort of got away with a smattering of very poor Japanese speaking and international hand gestures. Yeah. and a really awful cover of Rubber Bullets by 10cc.
Excellent.
Which I sang in an awful falsetto, which I've reliably been informed sounds like somebody stamping on a cat. So
let's hear that.
No. I haven't done it in a long while, and I'm not doing it again.
But when you were even over here, you were doing well. There
was a point where it did do pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
Because people like Idlewild were your support.
That's right. Yeah, it was crazy. That was, because I was aware of who they were, and I was like, we can't have them support us. It's like, they'd only done Captain at that point. They hadn't done 100 Broken Windows or anything like that. And at that point, they were a proper punk band. They were fucking. Oh mate, the first night they played. They were doing the end of their set where basically just like total musical collapse kind of thing. And I remember at that point Bob was still the bass player, and they were just, him and Rod Gilbert the guitarist were just on their knees clawing at their instruments.
Excellent.
And Roddy had lost his shoes and all kinds of shit. And it was just like, Jesus Christ, they really go for it, these guys, don't they? And then and so that was good for us because that made us up our game.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But also, you would see these bands and you knew it was going to be big. Mm-hmm. But they were just the nicest people.
Always helps.
Well, it does. It does help. But I thought to myself, are you enough of a knob to get to the top?
Yeah.
And it turned out that you didn't need to be, so that was good.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was wrong there.
Because there are many, many knobs in this world.
Hundreds.
Especially in the music business.
Hundreds, and they're all at the top.
Yeah, it's very true.
But well, actually, no, they're not all at the top. The people right at the top are actually dead nice and dead smart. And then there's this sort of like, there's the pretenders, aren't they? Not band, obviously, but the people that sort of like surround the people with the talent.
Yeah.
Who are just taking their 5% here and their 10% there, and like telling you that they were responsible for the success of the record. And it's like, it's got nothing to do with you, mate.
Yeah, you didn't write one
song. The band made a good record with a producer and wrote some great songs.
Yeah.
All you did was, book a pressing plant in reality and put some adverts in a newspaper. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, of course.
If this record was crap, you wouldn't be saying anything. So, I ain't got time for the industry mooks.
Yeah, and which there are many.
Yeah, tons of them. And I always used to think, oh God, Albini's a bit anti-authoritarian, isn't he? And then I just realised he was right.
Yeah.
He was absolutely right. And ever since then, I've just been like, yeah, I'll send you the record when we've finished it. Don't bother coming here. Mm-hmm. No, you can't have rough mixes. The band are not finished.
Yeah.
And I'd rather work directly with bands than fiddle about with record companies. Occasionally it happens, but not normally when it does, the record company people that you encounter, certainly within the punk scene, are pretty cool. But they tend to accept these things unseen. It's like, this band's going to make a record and we're just going to let them do what they do. And like, that kind of acceptance of art is what's missing from mainstream music.
Oh, completely. Yeah, there's too many like people coming in going, maybe you should put this here on.
And
get another writer.
Oh yeah, you definitely need a trombone on this. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
We're not ska.
Well, even if it wasn't, like putting a brass section on, it's like, well, just do it because it's the right thing to do. Don't do it because you think you have to.
Yeah. Don't force it.
Because we definitely came under some pressure sort of the back end of our time as a band. Like, oh, you need to do this because Linkin Park are big now. It's like, yeah, I don't know whether you heard the other records.
Yeah, but
we're not really Linkin Park, and I don't want to make new metal.
I would love to hear you rap though.
It wouldn't be good. I don't know, but I don't know. Get me some text and a nice big fat beat, and I'll do a shit job for you.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, great. Okay. But that's probably another podcast.
Yeah.
That's a whole other podcast.
When did Midget come to an end?
So I guess it would be around 2000, 2001, I think we realised the game was up. Because we just couldn't take it any further. We did a third record, which was kind of good. But it was difficult because we didn't have the major deal anymore. Mm-hmm. So we got an independent in the UK and we got an independent in Japan. We put it out and, it was okay. We got over to Japan, did a little tour. That was nice. But it was fairly clear it wasn't going to go any further. And it was like, yeah, we need to go back to the day jobs now.
Yeah.
So I went back to the sound engineering, which I'd never really gone away from. I'd kept my hand in.
Yeah, I was going to ask, if you've always been doing the sound.
Yeah, and Lee, the drummer, said, look, I've got this opportunity to go and train to be an air traffic controller in Southampton. And we were like, okay, well, if you're doing that, then I think the game's up. Because we always said it was us three and that's it. If somebody left, we weren't going to replace them.
Yeah.
Chiefly because I think we knew that there were three characters in that band that were pretty irreplaceable. Plus, the way that Richard and I kind of play our instruments is like, you're not going to find someone else who does it exactly the same as that. Yeah. So, and Richard was a singer. So it's like, well, if he doesn't want to do it, then, it's game over. If I don't want to do it, I was writing much of the material. Mm-hmm. So with him, and we had a pretty unique thing going on stylistically. And Lee, it was just he was a good little drummer, nothing flashy, but he was good, and he'd been the one that had really pushed us over the edge to do it in the first place. He'd pushed that demo. He'd gone on the telephone and he bought a van, and he worked in this terrible plastics factory doing shit hours making parts for taxi cabs just so we could get this van and go to London and do all those gigs and stuff to get the deal. It was like, well, I'm not going to welch on that. I'm not that kind of person. I respect the fact that he put all that time and effort in.
You need there's always that one person who is like that, and like almost like the soul, the heartbeat, was just like
He was the Lars Ulrich of Midget, but without the annoying whiny voice. And
he's Richard. Is he a teacher now?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's a music.
Check my research, man.
Yeah, very good. He's a music teacher. He's done very well. He went back to university, got himself a degree, and he did all that stuff.
Sick.
Yeah, I mean, he was always a very talented guy, so it didn't surprise me for 1 minute that he's ended up where he is. I think he's head of some music department at a school or something. He does very well, and Lee is landing all your transatlantic flights from his base of operations near Bournemouth Airport, which apparently controls everything until Heathrow Airport get hold of it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
What a good do, stopping us flying into the sea.
Exactly, yeah. So air safety, the future of British music, and small-time punk rock producer in Leeds.
Banging.
That's how we ended
You
up.
say a small time, man, but you've worked with some goddamn amazing bands.
Smallish. I've done a lot of live sound. That was one of the things I sort of turned my hand to when I finished the band, and that was where the Damned thing came up. But
did you play with the Damned?
Well, a bit. Yeah, there was some coincidences there. Just another one of those cases of stars aligning. So, you will remember perhaps a band called Janice Stark.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just reformed not long ago.
That's right. Yep, Giz.
Man can talk.
Yep, Giz is a very, very old friend.
Yeah.
Janice,
what was it? English Dogs.
Giz, yeah. Well, the last version of English Dogs ended up was what became Janice Stark.
Yeah.
Now, in the interim period, Giz got the Prodigy gig. This was around 96, 95, 96. Mm-hmm. And he, got a lot of exposure out of that, and obviously there was a lot more high-profile interest in what he was doing. So all of a sudden, Janice Stark, had a budget, and they made a record, Great Adventures of Gar, and I did all the demos for them. But we had this little studio up near Peterborough, and I was doing the odd session and hustling things in there.
Yeah.
But I just thought this was a really good opportunity to work with people who've been doing it for years. Great, some of the best musicians, certainly from any kind of local circuit. Mm-hmm. And I knew the record was going to be produced by Terry Thomas, who'd done Three Colours Red. Yeah. It was like, okay, well, you get involved with this some way, shape or form, because this is an opportunity to learn. And I was very fortunate that when we were recording all the Midget stuff, we had some really great producers. We worked with Dave Ehringer, for example, who, in my view, probably I'm still ripping off all his best moves. He's a great engineer. He really knew about how to get the best out of somebody in the studio. He knew when to be serious. He knew when to mess around. The engineering was just amazing. It just sort of happened. Yeah. You didn't have to worry about it. You just took it as a foregone conclusion that you would plug in and it was going to sound good within 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. So there's a
like lot, you do.
There's thanks. I mean, I just try and have a bit of that. I mean, I'm probably a bit more serious than Dave, but because I just am anyway. But but he was a great joker.
Yeah.
And although he did get surprised by somebody put a bogey on a fader, and he was really appalled by it.
Was it Dick and Dom?
No, it wasn't.
Dick and Dom!
Cut it! Yeah. I think I don't know when was Dick and Dom in a bungalow on? When was Bogies going on?
Oh man,
2002.
Is that how long ago it was?
Oh dude, yeah, it's like
man, that's crazy.
I've been working with Wally from. Used to be in Catalyst with Chris Catalyst back in like 2001, and me and him were talking the other day because he runs some tattoo shops now.
Okay.
And we were talking about when we went to Berlin to watch Faith No More. He's like, what was that like 5 years ago? I was like, 14 years ago. That's when that happened. It's like, what is going on with time?
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Well, it's 2002.
Holy shit.
It's crazy. I've just got into that 70s show. And I didn't realise that came off the air in 2006.
Yeah.
I found some pictures of the cast, and I realised they're all my age. It's like,
or older. Yeah.
Because I must have seen it out of the corner of my eye when I was younger. I think I just got Sky, and was feeling very upwardly mobile.
Yeah, feeling flush.
So, I've got Sky now. You can have 7 crap movie channels.
Yes, the dream.
But I think it was always on, and I remember clocking it because it was like, what the fuck is Clarence Boddicker doing in a sitcom?
It is Clarence Boddicker, Red.
No, it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, that guy should.
Bitches leave.
That guy. Can you fly, Bobby?
Yeah.
Because that was another movie that was like an absolute cornerstone of the early teenage years.
Yeah, I adored that film. I remember when I had my tonsils out and I was about 8 years old, my mum got it me on VHS or whatever.
Yeah.
And I watched it every goddamn day.
Well, but he's such an amazing actor, Kurtwood Smith. Because when I saw him in Dead Poets Society, because he played the father of that protagonist.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It was like you can sort of see that's the serious version of Red Foreman.
Yeah, completely.
The character isn't that different. It's that sort of middle America conservative war veteran father who's terribly hard on his own son because he wants him to not be a failure and he wants him to be everything that he didn't manage to do, kind of, I suppose. Yeah. Trying to vicariously living out through your kids or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Panic as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and it's really dangerous that as an attitude as a parent, I think. I mean, not that you want to give kids loads of latitude, but trying to mould them into everything that you wished you were is kind of that's dumb because they're not you.
Exactly. Yeah. You fucked up yourself.
Well, they're going to take a different road, and you have to accept that, and you've got to help them, and you need to say, yeah, cool. If you're going down that road, that's great, but just watch out for this.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah, it's like I'm looking like my mother. She's always supporting everything I do. My dad, not so much, but my mum, yeah. So she had it just exactly right. She was not a Red Foreman. She was not.
Yeah, my own folks were kind of confused. I think they probably thought, oh, this isn't very safe, is it?
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, it isn't. But if I want to do it this badly, I'll make a job of it. My mum never lived to see it, unfortunately. But that was just one of those things. But maybe she's still around. We'll get to that.
We will get to
that. But yeah, anyway, so Jonas Stark, yeah, so I forgot, what was the point?
How you got into production?
The recording,
The Damned and everything.
Yeah, so, so what happened was Jonas Stark did that record, and Pinch, who was the drummer, I think he just he'd had enough of it. He wanted to do other things. He probably felt it had strayed quite a long way from the original sort of intent of what the English Dogs was, which was essentially a hardcore punk band.
Oh, yeah.
They're kind of like that sort of second wave D-beat stuff, but they moved into metal and all sorts of things. I mean, Pinch was one of those guys who's just an incredible drummer. Very versatile, very musical. I mean, he wrote a lot of music as well. He's not just some guy just banging the skins at the back of the stage, but he got the job with first of all, there was a guy called Spike Smith who got the job with,
strong name.
Well, he showed up, oddly enough, playing for Wonk Unit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They've had a lot of members.
Yeah. But so he's done a lot of session stuff. Another great drummer, Welsh guy. But he lived in Peterborough. Now he had the Damned job, and then he got offered Morrissey. So he left the Damned and joined Morrissey, and said, "Well, it's a living." I'm not sure I could deal with it, but
no.
I imagine he just kept burgers in the snare drum or something.
He's going to be a guest in it.
What's that?
He's going to be a guest in the podcast.
Morrissey, no, that's a whole different podcast. That's a different sort of guest.
That's madness.
Yeah.
Daft Racist podcast.
That's it.
Yeah. Weird nationalist podcast. So where was I? So Pinch got the job, and he promptly went out and did a tour of the States with him. And I saw him when he got back, and he said, "Oh," I said, "How's it going?" He said, "Oh, yeah, it's great. Telling me all these stories." And I was like, "Damn, it's like doing all these cool theatres out in California and everything."
Yeah, of course.
And everything. I'm like, "Oh, this is wicked, man. I'm so pleased for you, but I'm dead jealous as
Yeah,
well."
yeah.
How do I get in on this? And I casually said, "Oh, well, I'm not doing anything anymore. So if there's any roadie opportunities or anything like that, let me know." And then, nothing happened for Christmas passed, and then he rang me and he said, "Right, what are you doing in February?" I said, "Not a lot, He goes, "Right, okay, we want you to come be the guitar tech for the band." I'm like, "Are you kidding?" And he said, "Well, it's only 50 quid a day, I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Yeah, damn right.
Of course, I'd be an idiot if I didn't. So our first gig was the Garage in London.
Yeah.
And we drove down there. All the gear showed up. The band was nowhere to be seen. I thought, well, I'll just get on with this. It was fuck all, really. It was like a Ampeg bass amp and a Marshall Stag. Mm-hmm. So I set that up, and then this old guy sort of shuffles onto the stage, and I'm thinking, oh, who's this? And he sort of goes, oh, hello. I was like, oh, hello, mate. He said, are you the new guitar tech? I said, yeah, I am. Yeah, the band aren't here yet. And he goes, right. And he buggered off, and the Pinch is laughing in the background. He said, "You do realise that's Captain Sensible, don't you?" Said,
didn't have his hat on.
No. He just looked like an old guy with like a big this necklace on, and I was like, "Who's that?" Somebody's dad. And then of course, so the band didn't sound check because Vanian never turned up.
Of course, because he's a vampire.
Well, exactly. So he never turned up. So the band occasionally did a jam for the front of house guy.
Yeah.
But Patricia Morrison was on bass, and she was obviously married to Vanian, so she never turned up either. So it was kind of like keyboards, guitar, and drums, just doing some kind of psychedelic jam. And I was like, oh, Christ, what's this going to be like? Is this just going to be absolutely has-beenish or what? They walked on, and of course, Captain was like, "Oh yeah, now I see who it is."
Yeah,
because it's like you need the beret and the shades and the stripy shirt and all that shit. And they opened with New Rose, and the place went fucking berserk. And I was like, "Okay, yeah, all right, this is a real gig.
Yeah,
this is proper." And I never realised until that day just how good a guitarist he was. I mean, the guy's seriously good.
Yeah,
seriously inventive as well. He said his only instruction to me was to go, "I've got to have an empty beer can on top of the amp." I said, "Oh, okay, all right." And he used it as a slide. And he used it to make all this psychedelic space noises. Like he had like 3 sounds on the thing. He had rhythm, lead, and this sort of thing with loads of delays, and he just used to do all this stuff with his beer can and everything. He's like, fucking, yeah, fair enough. That's a real good lesson in economy.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then as we went on through the tour, they heard me testing the bass, and they were like, "Oh, why don't you just jam with us for the sound?" I was like, "All right, yeah, why not?" I mean, it mostly consisted of playing E for 20 minutes, but it was fine. And then Patricia's mum got ill.
Yeah.
And of course her mother lived back in California. She said, "Look, I'm going to have to go back because my mum's too well." And we were like, "Okay, we're just going to cancel the shows then." And so I thought, "Oh well, that's the end of that then." And then
hold on 1 second. Can we just hold for 1 second? I'm about to wee myself.
Go on.
I can see him.
That's fine.
I can see him. Just if you just pause. I just felt like
we can either pause, or I can just you can pretend that I'm Mikey if you like.
All right.
So,
hey, what's up, Mr. Shiraz?
So what you were saying about you were saying you were almost having to cancel a show.
Yeah. So we thought they were going to cancel it, and then I got this phone call. It's like, "You know these songs, don't you?" It's like, "Well, I could probably muddle my way through them. Why?" He goes, "Yeah, we want you to come and do the gig." It's like, "Oh, okay." And it was Norwich, I think. Was it Norwich? It was somewhere that was a couple of hours drive. Because I remember driving to the gig, and Pinch had a recording of another gig on a cassette player, on which the bass was completely inaudible, saying yeah, and I was like, oh, spool that back. Let me have another listen to that.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to get something out of it. I had
Wear the tape out for a bit.
Exactly. I had a rough idea of what she played, but I was always on the other side of the stage, so I wasn't totally sure. But yeah, I came and did the gig, and I remember that Captain showed up and he goes, "Oh, you're not going to wear that, are you, Andy?" You know, it was like, I had some really like random shirt on. I don't know. I haven't got anything else. And I remember like he showed up with he brought out this weird leather henchman top, and he made me wear it. I was fucking sweating my ass off. And I was like, and I'm pretty sure he just put me into this thing to like make me look like a complete clot. But you know, so I did the gig, and then a couple more came up, and I did those, and then I ended up tour managing them for a while, which didn't go very well because I was a bit young and didn't know what I was doing. And then I became the sound guy because they never had a regular sound guy, and I was like, this is a crazy situation. That's my main gig anyway. Can't I just do that? I kind of talked them into it.
Yeah.
And then the next big thing on the agenda was they made a new record, which was Grave Disorder. And then we spent most of 2001 touring that, and we went to America. Literally just after 9/11.
Holy shit!
9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's that then. We're not going. And it was all up in the air for a couple of weeks. And then I got this phone call saying, yeah, we're on. Get to Heathrow on Thursday or something. Because we'd done the visas and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they thought, well, we've spent the money. Like, a lot of bands are not going out. We should go out and try and take people's minds off this stuff.
Oh, damn right. Yeah, of course.
The New York show was intense. We played Irving Plaza.
Yeah.
I've never known that much intensity of emotion in a room.
How long after 9/11 that happened?
I don't know, 5 weeks or something. Ground Zero, you couldn't go down there. It was still just a cloud of dust.
Yeah.
You know, because we thought, you know, can we go down and see what's happening? He's like, just don't bother.
Yeah.
You know, what they said was, we're going to drive into New York, pull up at the front of the gig, you're going to unload, we'll come and get you at the end of the gig. That's it. You know, don't bother hanging around.
But I guess for the people in New York at the time, it was like something to take their mind off and
yeah.
Get
Well,
to the show.
I remember like a bunch of the Fire Brigade ended up on stage at the end of the show, just like talking to friends in the audience down the mics and stuff. And I was like, and I turned to the house guy. I said, what do you want me to do here? He said, just leave it open. They need this.
Of course.
And I said, yeah, I get it. You know, totally get this. Yeah, it was a tough show, but for all the right reasons.
And you would have been pretty young.
Yeah,
like
I was
24?
24, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and trying to comprehend just like the scale of what had happened.
Yeah.
There, you know, I mean, as a Brit, you know, you don't really understand just what a massive poke to the jugular of America that was. Never mind the international terrorism aspect, which is obviously horrific.
Yeah,
it's absolutely horrific and just unforgivable, really. You know, but you do sort of get the feeling that by being there, you know, and helping to be part of the show, you're somehow saying, yeah, we're with you.
Yeah. We're not scared to come.
Well, I'm not scared of that. I'm not scared of that. And also, it's like people need support. People need people.
Yeah.
As Depeche Mode said.
Yeah.
You know. I love them.
Yeah, and like no, there is. It's people aren't just going to stand on the sidelines. They're going to come in and be there.
Well, you can be a spectator if you like, but it's a bit of a waste of a life.
Yeah, completely, 100%.
You know, much better to do something, which I guess is like why I've just always had respect for like musicians of any level, because it's like people. I think a lot of people don't necessarily realise what it takes to put yourself out there. You know, it certainly takes quite a lot out of me. Even like just playing a covers gig in a pub, these days, which is all I do with my time, it still requires a certain amount of nervous energy, preparation. It's like, I don't want to let people down. They'd probably clap any old shit, but I'm not made that way. I want to do a good job.
That's it, yeah.
You know? I don't believe that I deserve the applause unless I earn it.
Yeah, I've always believed that if I don't feel nervous before I go on stage, then that means I don't care. And then why the fuck am I doing it?
Yeah, you can't become blasé with this stuff.
No,
well, I remember that gig I did with you guys down at Night Train.
Yeah, that was great fun.
Yeah, it was. I was shitting it.
But I remember that night, I was like, our question was like, what do you think he's going to be like on stage? Because we'd done no practices together. We hadn't done a sound check together. You basically turned up,
all I could do, all I could do.
Bananas.
Well, yeah, but that's nervous energy as much as anything. But also, it's like, what do you want? Do you want a guy that stands still? It's like, it's a fucking punk rock band, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know,
play with a band with a guy out of fucking Motorhead.
Exactly. You know, I mean, Campbell is a legend.
I liked how all his crew knew exactly who you were. Because I remember saying before, I've got somebody else playing bass, a guy called Andy Hawkins, and the guitar.
Oh,
guy,
yeah. Solge, yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, Andy Hawkins, are you joking? I know him.
Yeah. Well, Solge is, I kind of got to know him through Chris Catalyst, actually, because we needed a guitar tech for the Pigeon Detectives, because I worked for them for a long time as well. And he came in. I mean, Soldier's a big time guy. He's worked with all sorts of things. He was doing Pulp at the time.
Yeah.
And this was just something that fitted easily in his schedule. No, he's a heavyweight guitar tech guy, but he's
Super
also
nice dude.
Super
like nice dude.
Legend, absolute legend. And it was really nice to see him. And I was like, right, I'm not going to cause you any problems. I'm going to use this little lamp here, and it will disappear out of your life the instant I've finished. Don't worry, because I know that those guys do not want you to get in the way.
Oh yeah, it's like we're like with us, we're very professional at getting on stage, getting off stage on time, making sure we've stripped all our shit off.
Don't
instantly.
fuck up the headliner.
Yeah, we will never run over because those people have paid to see that headliner.
Yeah.
We're
their
there
name
to
on the
warm up
ticket,
that
not
crowd.
yours.
Exactly.
Says plus support.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, so there's a lot of nervous energy that's required, I think, and I hope that never leaves me. I think if it does, it's probably time to stop.
Exactly. I'm totally in agreement there, man. If you don't feel that nervous energy, then what are you doing it for?
Yeah, but at the same time, like I think a lot of people are very quick to criticise bands, and it's like you have no idea what it takes for somebody to go up on a stage, whether they're a musician or an actor or a public speaker or whatever. What it really takes to go out there and do something for the sake of entertainment is a lot. You can sit in your armchair and you can criticise as much as you like, but do you want to have a go?
Yeah, it's
no, you don't.
It's like, okay, we're not making maybe no money at all, but it's not a hobby. It's something special.
Yeah, that was the one that always used to get me. People would say, "Oh, you're so lucky to do this." It's like luck has nothing to do with it. I mean, it does in a sense, whether you get signed from being a total unknown as an outsider, that is probably quite lucky.
Yeah,
I'll accept that. But at the same time, we worked for that.
Yeah, we worked really hard.
You work, and bands work. Bands certainly on the DIY scene, they work their balls off, and they're all holding down day jobs at the same time, and they're all like, oh, could we make this record any quicker? It's like, well, we'll try. We'll do our best. I mean, at this point, I'm pretty clear about how long things are going to take, but we'll do what we can, and we'll just see what happens. But so yeah, the Damned kind of just led on to other things like that. The guy who was tour manager, they've asked me to do some other stuff, and that led to some session work in America, which was pretty cool. That was a band called the Webb Brothers, who were the sons of Jimmy Webb, the songwriter.
Oh, cool.
And they were fucking awesome guys. They were a great band. And when they were making their third record with Dave Friedman, the guy who produced Soft Bulletin and various... he did Mercury Rev and...
I remember Mercury Rev,
and he did... oh God, I can't remember the name of the band. That American electronic band. totally forgotten the name of them. They were huge. They had that song which went dun 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 dun. You know that one.
Is it not MIA? Is it?
Not MH3. It's like that.
Yeah, I know
you know who I mean.
Yeah.
I can't remember it, which is I'm going to kick myself when I figure out who it is. But yeah, he done all that, and that was pretty eye-opening because he has this studio called Tarbox Road, which is in upstate New York.
Yeah.
And they flew me out there, and I'll never forget it because I went out there on my visa, which was for something else. But they said, I talked to the manager and he said, yeah, you should come in on the visa because you're legit working and stuff. Even though you're getting paid in the UK, it doesn't matter. You're not here on holiday.
Yeah, of course.
And if they tumble to it, you'll be out on a plane back, and that's not what anybody wants.
No.
We've got a specific window. We've got to do this and you're coming out for this week. I was like, okay. So, but I didn't know where the studio was. I didn't have the end address of where I was staying, and of course that's the no-no when you're entering.
Yeah,
the States.
they
You don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
So they stuck me in a tank and sweated me for a couple of hours, and they knew I had this connecting flight to Buffalo, and they were like, "We don't know whether we're gonna let you in yet."
It's a good accent as well.
He honestly sounded like that, and I was like, okay. I was just like, right, okay. Well, I thought they can't really turn me back. I've got a visa. I'll just keep quiet. And so they did that classic thing. They just ran the clock down, until they knew I'd have to run like fuck to get to the other side of JFK to get on this connecting flight. And they go, all right, you can go. It's like, well, thanks a fucking bunch, mate.
Yeah, for nothing.
You did nothing in that. So yes, so I went out there, and that was a pretty cool week because Dave Friedman's obviously just like, he's his own guy. He just does things completely differently to anyone else I've ever seen, and just had a completely unique approach to sounds and just ideas and I remember this. He had some crappy beatbox thing, and he was like, because he employs this guy who goes to car boot sales essentially, or whatever the equivalent is in America, yard sales, and just buys crap, any old crap. Mm-hmm. And he came back with his beatbox, and so Dave gets his thing. And he goes, "Oh, this looks like fun." Turns it on. This terrible comes out of it. And he goes, "Oh, we can do something with that," and like hooks it up to some weird collection of like, I guess it would be in a compressor and a filter or something. And like 10 minutes later, it just sounded like this weird sucking noise from the womb. And he goes, "Yeah, that'll work." just stuck it on this track. He was like, "Fucking hell." Yeah, that's why you get paid the medium bucks.
And that's where the money's at. Medium bucks.
The medium. Yeah, it's all about the medium price.
Who would you say is the coolest artist you've ever worked with?
Well, Mr. Shraz, obviously.
Well, yeah. Aside from us.
I don't know. There have been loads of really good ones.
Yeah.
And I don't like picking favourites.
Not
because
even now?
Well, it's hard because they're all great for different reasons. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of records with a band called The Contrast that I'm very proud of. And they don't mean anything over here, but they did quite well in the States. That was pretty cool, and it was kind of 60s pop, beat influenced stuff. So it was a little bit off the beaten track. I don't know.
One of my favourite records, personally.
Go on.
Hawkeyes.
Oh yeah.
What a fucking record.
Which one? Ideas.
It could be. It's just the one I used to DJ with all the time, and it was just absolutely immense. I miss that band.
Yeah, I mean, that band was some very, very talented people who didn't really belong on the same planet together, but because they didn't belong on the same planet together, they came up with wacky stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when they started out in Leeds.
Should have been huge.
And it was like very Melvinsy at the time.
Yeah.
And Stick was the drummer, and I remember they did a gig at Joseph's Well, and I was the sound guy there, and I remember it very clearly because I think Rob wore some kind of wrestling mask or something, and Stick was set up sideways. You know, it was very Melvins kind of thing. It was pretty sludgy, and I kind of lost touch with them for a couple of years. And then the next thing I knew, they'd done the first record, which came out on Brew. And I kind of reconnected with him because I was doing some stuff with Pulled Apart by Horses, and Hawkeyes came out on tour with them. And I said, oh, you know, we should do something, you know. And they were like, oh, okay, you know. And it was all kind of like, you know, that sort of little dance around that people do.
Yeah, yeah.
And then this Ginger record came in via Chris Catalyst. Ginger was doing his Mutations project.
With the guy from Exit International.
You mean?
He's moved to Australia now, hasn't
Well, the drummer guy.
he? He was singer in Exit International.
Oh, okay. I think it might be different personnel. The guy, there was a drummer. I'm terribly bad with names. I've forgotten his name. He was playing drums on it. And Jay said, well, the connection kind of was Chris, as it normally is. Obviously, I'd done some stuff with Eureka Machines. Jace Edwards had produced the second Eureka's record, and he'd come over we were at Cottage Road at the time. We hadn't moved to the Nave. And we'd done the drums there, and then they went and recorded the rest of it at Jace's place over in Tamworth.
Yeah.
And but Jace was going to produce a record, and I'd kind of done something for Ginger like years before. He had this thing called the Singles Club, and there were 2 tracks that I'd mixed because they needed somebody to mix it and they couldn't get anyone. And I got this phone call via sort of various people that knew me and said, "Would you come do this?" And I was like, shat myself because like it was like, well, first of all, it was in Albert Production Studios in London, which of course is ACDC management thing.
Cool.
Which was pretty good.
That's always fucking cool.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
And it was a Neve desk, which I hadn't used before. And I was a bit like, oh, Christ, I've no idea how the automation works on these things. But, you know, fuck it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm mad if I don't.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody opens the door and said, "Do you want to have a look in here?" and you go, "Oh, I'm too scared to look in there."
Let me get in.
Well, you know, it's bad news for you. Bad news. So, like, I went down. Ginger came in, and I had a bit of a chat with him. Only give him one mix. You know, he just didn't want to give him any options. He said, "Right, that's the mix." I remember he had some vocals that he had to re-record on something. So we set up a mic, and I just watched him doing it, and he really threw himself into it. And I was like, okay, yeah, fair enough. You know, and you know, so obviously I had a lot of time for the guy anyway, because like the Wild Hearts were like just a huge influence on everybody on British music in the 90s. Just that fusion of heaviness with great pop.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, Ginger really knows his pop.
Yeah.
Really
Man knows his way around a melody.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And melodies that you haven't heard before either.
Yeah.
But he'll always do something ridiculous like a 2-minute guitar solo or some crazy metal riff in the middle of a really catchy chorus or something. but that's because he likes the Cardiacs.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just that left field thing, which I appreciate. I was more of an XTC fan than the Cardiacs fan, but I like the left field thing. I get it. And of course, there's a bit of that in Chris's stuff as well. You know.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because I mean, he was good friends with Tim Smith, and you know, the Cardiacs thing. It kind of, you can follow that through the Hawkeyes as well, really. You know, that sort of like otherness, the oddness, but transposing it into a sort of rock stroke metal thing. Yeah, because like Stick was all about the Cardiacs, and Rob just wanted everything to sound like Metallica. And he was staying at my house at the time, and like every morning I would hear "Why Can't This Be Love" coming out of his room. You know,
what a great song!
And so we were just like, well, I mean, why can't it be love?
Yeah.
You know?
Why can't it be love?
We don't have the rights to sing.
There we do.
we've got the rights to sing that badly.
Yeah.
That wasn't recognisable. Nobody
No.
can sue for that. And besides which, we didn't sing 12 notes. So unless they change the law after this Ed Sheeran case, we're all right.
Fuck yeah, Andy Hawkins in the house. He knows this shit.
The TLC case.
Have you heard of... No. I'm talking about this Marvin Gaye case that's going on right now.
Yeah, well, he made him bring his
If
guitar.
he loses that, I mean, I've got no time for his music, but, like, he should not be accused of plagiarism on this.
Nah.
Like, they're trying to sue over chords now.
Yeah.
That's wrong. That's not what the law
Metallica
says.
tried to copyright a chord at one point?
Did they?
Yeah, years ago. It was around that Napster time.
Oh, right. I mean, I don't know about that, but, I mean, either way, it's bad news for music if Sheeran loses that case. I hope it gets thrown out because this is surely got to be people being greedy. I know.
Oh, it is 100%.
Somebody owns 25% of Marvin Gaye's estate. It's not the relatives, but it's this corporate company that's encouraged the family to bring the case. As far as I can, I've been doing a little bit of reading up about it, and I don't like the look of it.
No, it does sound like bullshit.
I mean,
I've listened to two songs. It's like going,
yeah.
I mean, I played you that song earlier, the Mrs. Shiraz rip-off of Biffy Clyro.
I know.
And that's what you can get sued for, because that's a rip-off.
I know the Marvin Gaye and Robin Thicke thing as well.
Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah.
But the Sheeran one.
Well, I mean, the TLC case was like it's pretty close. It's pretty close. Well, the rhythm of the vocal was very similar to No Scrubs.
Yeah.
And I think when I first heard it, I was like, really?
Well, surely you can have interpolation as well.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. So, I mean, but I think what happened there was he settled on that and allowed the writers to take some of the things. And I've been on the wrong end of copyright law myself.
Yeah.
We had a live B-side once that we put out, which had like a bit of Smoke on the Water on.
Right.
We didn't clear it. The publishers got wind of it and just said, "We'll have all the money for that." Thanks.
Smoke on the Water was actually an inversion of Bach.
Well,
we're going to go off on a lot of tangents here.
If you want to get into it, Marvin Gaye's estate should be playing Beethoven's estate. You know, it goes on and on and on. How far back do you want to go?
I mean, to be fair, there's going to be a statute of limitations on copyright.
And
what is it?
All I can say is
is it 50 years?
I think it's
Or is it?
70
Yeah.
years,
But I don't know if you remember Denver the Last Dinosaur, but that guy invented rock and roll.
Oh right, yeah.
The pink dinosaur with his sunglasses lived in the magic egg.
George from
No, Denver the Last Dinosaur. That's who everyone owes money to.
So gigs and ghosts, you say?
Anyway.
Back at the podcast.
Yeah.
Where do we get to?
We talked about things.
What's the best band I've ever worked with? Or what's the...
Well, we talked about Ginger.
So I don't know who the best one is because they're all good for different reasons, which I know is a non-answer.
No, it's fine.
But it's the only one I can give because, quite frankly, whatever I'm working on or I've just finished working on is likely to be the favourite thing I've done at that point.
Yeah.
Because it just represents where my head is into. Mm-hmm. I go back to stuff I've done, and quite often I'm quite pleasantly surprised. Like, oh, did I do that? You know? Like, I don't remember coming up with that, or like, I don't remember who came up with that, or how it happened, or whatever, you know. So it's nice to have some distance, you know, especially when you know what's under the bonnet.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you've just worked on the new Random Hand
album,
which I've not heard. Sounds fucking great, mate. Sounds fucking great.
That's the best thing they've ever done.
Yes, indeed. Man,
I mean, the best thing they've ever done.
Yeah.
I should point that out. And it's quite important to make that distinction because you would think a band that's been knocking around for 20 years. Well,
I've now just stepped up another.
Have they got any gas in the tank? You know?
Yes, they fucking do.
Well, yeah, they do, and it's really nice to make a record with a band when they're in a bit of a better personal state. I think because when we did Hit Reset, you know, there was some difficulties. I think they were kind of done with it a bit.
Well, yeah, that was just just before the hiatus.
Yeah, Joe Tilston, like his mum had just passed away. He wasn't really in much of a position to be in the studio. I think he wanted to do it because he thought it might be cathartic and it would help, and it probably did. And you know, that guy is just like he's all about music, you know. And of course, he's probably the prime mover behind the record happening. You know, he's been a prime mover behind that band for a long time.
Yeah. All around amazing dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which has been said many times in this podcast, actually. Many people.
May well it be said again.
Yeah,
because, you know, the guy is such a catalyst of a lot of things, not only with his own band, but also just generally on the scene.
He inspires me a lot all the time.
It's important to recognise that, because I don't think, I mean, you know, I definitely don't give him any props. In the studio, that's just a load of shit.
Yeah, that's not like you.
Oh no.
Can I just point out, if listeners at home, Andy once made me, after singing a song, show him the lyrics and then tell me it was the most ridiculous song you'd ever heard.
Well, it was. Didn't change anything, no.
No. So that's why we made you put a wolf howl on the start of it.
Yeah.
But I've got a Sean Ho coming up soon.
Oh, have you?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. We talked about. I think he might be the next guest, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll be talking about your favourite.
Sure. Well, ask him about drum sessions after camping in the back of a van. That goes down well.
Ooh, I will.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, this new Random Hand record it's just great to see a band that far into their career really coming up with their best stuff.
Pushing it, and
you know, Robin's just in such a good place now, and actually, you know what?
Well, he's like, his artistic vibes go out with his acting and everything, and his comedy. He's just doing a lot.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and there's a lot of stuff that I kind of really relate to in him as a person as well, because I used to do a little bit of acting and stuff, and
me too.
At one point, I was thinking about trying my hand at stand up, but I bottled it, you know, because I didn't think I was like, you can't do it.
It's scary, man. Yeah.
Well, I've got some friends who do it. You know, Mickey Kerr does it, and like,
of course,
you know,
yeah.
and of course
he was on Britain's Got Talent, and he got to the finals.
That's right. Yeah, and we did all the Leeds United songs together and stuff. All that Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
And all the rest of it, you know, and they were good fun. And I've got a lot, but I know how much he has to put into it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a mistake to think you can just walk up there and be funny. You've got to put a lot of time into it.
Imagine what it feels like just when you bomb.
Oh God.
I mean, I know what it's like when I'm with a band and you go down like shit. I mean, I laugh my tits off, but by yourself, just open.
I spent a few years working at Leeds Festival doing the comedy tent, and I've seen a few comedians die on that stage. One of the big one was Rufus Hound.
Yeah,
died completely, and then went into overload to try and get out of it.
Yeah, try hard.
And it did not work.
Yeah.
It did not work at all, because he kind of went into this crazy rant. I forget exactly what it was about, but we were all standing there going, Jesus, let's get him off.
Yeah, he just,
this has gone wrong.
Yeah.
And like some stuff just totally went over everyone's heads. Like Emo Phillips, for example, a comedian that I think is
remember
fucking
Emo
hysterical.
Phillips. God damn, that's going back.
Hysterical. The crowd just didn't get it at all.
Yeah.
Just didn't. I mean, he did one gag, and myself and the monitor guy were like pissing ourselves, and the entire tent was silent.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you know, Bill Bailey was incredible.
Yeah.
You know, just
Well,
a masterclass in how to do comedy on a festival stage.
Well, he headlined Somersphere.
Yeah. With all the fake Marshall stacks in the band. Yeah. He was doing the solo thing when he played the Leeds tent. He did it twice, actually. I made a point of saying hello. And because we had this problem where there was this fairground ride opposite the tent, which had the Thriller laugh. See everything's circular. Vincent Price every fucking 2 minutes at 100 decibels, and it came on and it totally threw him. You know, and I was just like, I had to get on the radio and said, just get that fucking thing shut off, because there were like 10,000 people trying to get into this tent. 3,000 people to see him. It was the proper Foo Fighters at Reading. In '95, which I was at. I remember that. You couldn't get anywhere near it. You know, I could sort of vaguely hear them and sort of vaguely see these shapes like bloody miles away. And then, you know, but this was the same sort of thing, and it's like, no one's going to be able to hear this unless we shut that off. So of course that went down really well with the fairground.
Welcome to the Weird Scream. We want to go faster.
Yeah. Well, they all have that. They all have that really weird accent, don't they?
Yeah, it's like the Belgian accent for sure.
Well,
welcome to the Weird for sure.
They're all taking your money off you, and they're going, "All right, mate, that'll be £3. Yeah."
Here we go again.
And okay, Scream, if you want to go faster, hang on. Here we go.
Here we go, guys.
Yeah. It's that weird accent that they do. It's very, very strange.
It drags you in. If you've like dropped a couple of pills and you're at a festival, that's the voice that goes, "Screw me, I want to go faster. I want to go there. That's where I'm going, mate."
Yeah, and then they're like, "Yeah, it's another £3." Yeah. And it's the same guy.
Yeah.
It's always the same guy. So I don't know. There must be a school for it somewhere.
There must be.
Weird, isn't it? Could be. Well, if it's the ghost train, definitely.
Well, we're going to be hitting that point very soon.
Yes.
So we talked about all this, and before we go into Ghostland, worst band you've ever worked with?
Well, I have, yes, but I won't.
We didn't say sexist.
Professionally, I can't say that.
Yeah, but unprofessionally?
Unprofessionally, I can't say that.
No worries. We'll talk.
Do you know what? Do you know what? There really haven't been. Okay, there was one. I've forgotten what they were called.
Mine's Doyle from the Misfits.
Oh, okay. Right. But this band, they were just kids, really. But they split up during the session.
Oh, that's always a good sign.
It was a sort of a metal band, and they were just kids. They couldn't really play metal, you know what I mean? It's like it was very much a case of ideas above their station.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to be able to do this.
Yeah, of course.
Because the drummers, you know, want to do all this double kick stuff, but you can't do it, kind of stuff. And you could just see the guitarist getting really upset with this drummer who just couldn't cut it at all. And I said, I'll tell you what, just trying to be nice and everything. I'll go and get a cup of tea. You know, my default routine for like, I'm going to get out of here for a minute.
Leave you guys to it.
Yeah,
See how it goes.
Just have a chat about, just figure out if there's a simpler way we can do this or whatever. And I came back in. And the drum seat was empty. I said, "Oh, is he just gone for a cigarette or something?" He said, "No, he's left the band."
We've still got his receipt. Can we get the money back?
Okay. Well, they haven't paid.
Motherfuckers.
And I said, "Well, what do you want to do then?" And they were like, "You got any drum machines?" It's like, "All right, okay." I just programmed it on the drum machine and we finished it, but it was just like, I mean, it never came out.
And that band are now the Kaiser Chiefs.
Well, you can't say that. Those people are my friends. Yeah, they're now in Embrace.
Embrace, I tell you,
they're
mate.
now in Landsharks.
I've got stories, mate. I've got stories. But Andy,
now they're all in the Sisters of Mercy. Yeah.
Double of love. And so we've got a good chat about music.
Yeah. I can tell you my Sisters of Mercy story.
Well, yeah, I want to hear it, actually.
It's not bad.
Because that leads into Ghost.
Okay, just as I'd moved here, the Cottage Road studio, which I started working at when I first moved here, it was owned by Adam Pearson, who was in the Sisters of Mercy at the time. And Sisters had a warm-up gig at Joseph's Well, and it was another one of those classic "we need a guitar tech" things. And Chris Catless had just joined the band.
Yeah.
And so I said, "All right, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I need the money, frankly."
Yeah.
So I'll
Need that goth dollar.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm not sure I could sit through 2 hours of this corrosion, but anyway, I'll do it. Yeah. So they've got this it's a laptop now, but back then they had these two massive racks of gear, which they called the Dr. Avalanche or whatever. It was,
Yeah.
Which played all the backing tracks. It was run by this guy called Simon. He had this sort of highish voice. He was like, yeah, kind of. Yeah, he didn't. Anyway, Sisters, we set it all up, and I didn't really see Eldritch. That was another one of those Captain Sensible moments. We're at the warehouse to get the gear, and this little guy shows up, and he goes, "All right, anybody want some speed?" And I'm like, "No, you're all right." I'm thinking, "Who the fuck's this?"
Yeah.
It's Eldritch.
Oh, really? Well, I guess you wouldn't recognise him without all the smoke and silhouettes.
Exactly. You know, and I'd never really clocked that he wasn't that tall. Anyway, so we lugged all this gear down into Joseph's Well, which was a real laugh.
Oh man, I
I
worked there from '98 till 2005.
Right. Okay.
Because my brother.
I
Was
mean,
one
that gig happened. Like, must have been 2004. Something like that.
Yeah, I was probably there.
Probably. Yeah. So anyway, we set it all up and everything. Gig starts. We got about the dry ice is going fucking 7 bells. You know? Absolutely. Hell for leather on the old dry ice. Smoke, and it's getting quite bad. I can't even see the guitar rack to hand the next guitar on.
Fucking goths, I tell you.
And Eldritch said, right, this song's called whatever.
Gothy McBats.
Lucretia, my reflection. Or
Gothy Bats.
Yeah, exactly.
Snake bite.
Exactly. Leather bells. I don't know. And nothing happens. Nothing happens. And all you can hear. All you can hear from the back of the stage is, because it had this screen that was this computer thing, this rack, it had a screen that was mounted in the rack, with this piece of plexiglass in front of it to protect it, and all you can hear, I can't fucking see the screen, because the smoke had got behind the plexiglass. You see, this is Trouble of Love. I can't see the fucking screen.
Goths, eh?
Yeah, it's like Orville.
I wish I could fly. I wish I could start the computer, but I can't.
And then Eldritch got so hot because it was fucking boiling. He had to go and sit. He almost passed out. He had to go and sit on the steps for a minute.
Oh really?
It was
back staircase.
Yeah. That baby. Yeah. So there you go. Behind the scenes at the Sisters of Mercy.
And those steps I was sick on many times. But Andy, we're going to move on.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you fearful? So, Mr. Andy Hawkins, at this time in the podcast, this is where I like to ask a single question.
Okay.
Do you, Andrew Hawkins, believe in ghosts?
I don't know. That's not a good answer, is it?
No, it's not the first time I've been told that answer. It's like I'd say
I'll justify it.
Yeah, I've more guests said they don't know, which is, I mean, it's better than saying no.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't say no.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say yes because science tells me no.
Okay, yeah.
But I can't say no because I've had some experiences that aren't necessarily explained by straight science. And I've looked into it because I'm like, how much of this is like, waking from REM sleep and sleep paralysis or the mind projecting things onto objects or something. There's a name for it, which I can't remember. It will come back to me because I did look it up one time. I forget what it's called. But there is a term for it, and it's this business like when you see like faces in bricks and stuff.
Oh yeah,
like that,
I know. Yeah,
you know what I mean, right?
I do. Yeah.
So there's that, but what that doesn't cover, is I'm not necessarily talking about what I've seen.
Yeah.
Right. But I've been looking into like a little bit about how the brain works and stuff, and like sometimes it's working from the bottom up, and sometimes it's working from the top down. And depending on your state of wakefulness and all this kind of stuff, that would have a different subjective effect. Mm-hmm. But I'm not convinced because one of them happened in broad daylight. Now, most of these stories, these situations, they do happen in the dark, or maybe you've been asleep, or maybe you're not that awake, But I was wide awake with one of these episodes, and funnily enough, it was the same experience was corroborated by somebody else who saw something very similar. So that's what makes me wonder.
Yeah,
I've never been convinced by any of the spook hunting things I've seen on TV.
Oh, no,
that's
of
all
course.
bullshit that's played up for the cameras.
Have you ever watched Nuke's Top 5 on YouTube?
Oh, well, if you're referring to like some of the stuff that's been caught on camera, it's like things like chairs rolling across the floor and shit like that. I've seen some of these things. There's a couple of things where I'm like, well, I can't realistically see how that was pranked.
Yeah.
If it was, there was one involving. was something to do with a school at night. There was a corridor, and there is a chair that just moves, and it doesn't move in a you've pulled that with a piece of string.
Exactly, yeah. Well, you see, just sort of go. Poo!
Yeah, there could be poltergeist type behaviour. I don't really. It's hard to explain. Really.
Well, it is. I mean, there's lots of different ideas. Like, I know a few guests have talked about the fact that quite a lot of ghostly activity is said like about people going through a hormone change, and that's what's happening. Could it be something like the chemicals, biology, whatever it is, some sort of science that causes that? Shit like that. But as you just said about you seeing things in the daytime, and
that's the weird one. Because traditionally you don't associate that.
Oh no, yeah,
it's always with a ghost sighting.
Yeah,
it's always
what's
dim
in the
light
corner of the room? It's dark.
What blanks is my mind filling in?
Yeah.
So one of the experiences that I have is kind of in that area, but it was a bit too real for it not to be, and I was definitely awake. So
you see, I talked about one on I can't even remember which podcast it was, where I saw a woman walking through town once,
right,
and I got that feeling of just something is not right. Was that when I was with Ben? Yeah, and it just walked past me, just in the centre of town, and how she looked. Like, I mean, I can't even explain how she looked, but it was clear of day. I had not been drinking. It was just like a Tuesday afternoon, just simply walking past me in the street, and I felt my blood run pure cold, and I could not stop staring at her. I didn't feel anybody else was staring at that woman, but she was definitely there, and that was the middle of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I've had sort of,
kind of
I would say experiences of a presence, and that was also in daylight, but it could. I'm prepared to accept it could be supposition because it was. Well, there were a couple of occasions, but they include they sort of feature family members who were either on their last legs or had died, right? And so you don't know whether that's just your mind trying to like rationalize things and like tell you it's all right. But I mean, I'll kick off with this one because it's kind of personal. I was in two minds whether to talk about it, but
do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I guess so because it's relevant.
Yeah.
Because I think if you want to talk about spiritual connections between people, I think it can be relevant because I think a lot of that feeds into this, and it could be a lot of these things can be caused by fear or an emotional upheaval or whatever, and I rationalize it by thinking about like, well, why is a ghost here at all? Right? Normally because there's some pain involved, or there's something bad has happened and it's unfinished business and all this stuff. There's no such thing as a happy ghost,
Do you not think?
No, I don't think so. Well, not based on my experiences.
No, that's interesting.
Right?
That's interesting.
My
My
experiences sort of indicate a certain amount of malevolence. We'll get to them. But when my mother was dying, basically, this is quite a while ago, but I was down sort of like commuting to the hospital because she lives nowhere near here, and we knew that it was end stage cancer. It's pretty heavy, a lot of pain, and a combination of like supporting 5 or 6 years worth of pain. Yeah. I went down there, and I mean it's pretty unpleasant to see an end stage cancer victim. Yeah. It's traumatic for the relatives. It's hard. You're seeing the shell of a person. It's not. But you have to rationalise it. It's not who they were. It's just what the cancer has done to them. Yeah. But it's tough. It's tough to see them like that. But I remember very clearly. I just one day I was like, I came in and she'd been in a coma for a couple of days, and it was kind of the point where the breathing has become very laboured. It's sort of like what they call the death rattle. I suppose. Yeah. And I said to my old man, I said, look, I I don't want to be around this anymore. I can't help. It's distressing. I don't want to be anywhere near it.
Yeah.
And he said, I understand. It's fine. Go home. I said, just call me. It was so I think that was a Tuesday. I drove home. It was a couple of 100 miles, and got back, went to bed. Next day, was kind of just the same. Went to bed that night. Woke up like this at 4:00 in the morning, and my wife was like, "What's up?" I said, "Oh, I just know she's gone." And then my phone rang.
Oh shit! Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
weird, weird. You know, now, and I don't say shit like that for effect, because that's the wrong thing to do.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, no, it's one of the reasons I wanted to get you as a guest, because I know you're a no bullshit sort of man. You know.
Well, yeah, it's kind of, it's very, very strange.
Yeah.
For that to be a thing, and to have had that experience, and just to know something that you shouldn't know, because this person is hundreds of miles away. You know, like she was in Essex, right? And I was in Leeds. Okay, how could I have known?
Yeah.
I mean, apart from the fact that I knew it was imminent, right? But you know, I hadn't really felt anything. But I just woke up, and it was just like something. You know, I don't know. Let's say like you. It was a little bit like, you know, you got drunk or something, and you're not going to wake up unless somebody throws a bucket of water over you.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that.
Yeah.
That's
You're
what
in a deep sleep.
Oh yeah. I was fucking miles
boom,
away, and then all
you're
of
away.
a sudden it was like I'm as awake as I am now.
Yeah.
And I must have started in bed, because I woke up the missus, and she said, "What is it?" You know, and I said, "She's gone." You know, and then my phone, which was kept on my bedside table, and I said to my old man, "Just call me."
Yeah.
You know, it just started to ring, and I was like, I don't want to answer that because I know what.
Yeah,
it
you know
is.
exactly.
But you know, so there you go. Maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know.
No, because
knows?
there's so many exact same stories, and like
Really, that's that's interesting, because
so many.
I've never discussed that with anybody.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. No, I've heard so many stories. It's like even not something as sad as like losing a family member, but I've had it before where years ago my mum phoned me and she's like, "Are you okay?" I was like going, and I just like the day before had a long relationship end and not told anyone.
Yeah.
And she'd been trying to phone me for a day or two, but I hadn't answered. And she phoned me that day and she's like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And straight away, I broke down and she's like going, "I've just sensed something's not right since yesterday. I've been trying to get a hold of you." But yeah, even when it comes to like somebody like deaths like that, I've heard it. And it's always with a close family member. Was it TJ we had on? And when his grandma passed, and he was in bed, woke up, and felt that she was in a room, and then a similar thing.
I mean, that's a slightly different thing. I didn't feel that.
But then also, I got a call, Carl. Yeah, Carl got one. Yeah, but it's like there's this weird connection when you're so entwined with somebody on all these levels.
Yeah, I wonder what it is. You know, like, is it? A cerebral connection. Yeah. Well, you'd probably try and rationalise it like that, but that sort of stuff's never really been proved. You know, ESP, all that sort of thing. It's like.
But how do you prove something?
Well,
that's a weird thing about this sort of thing.
The oddest thing about this, you see, is if you were to talk about ESP in any kind of way, you would generally kind of factor it into like individuals in a similar area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in the same room or something like that. You know, it's like, oh, I sense, you know, or your mediums and whatever. This is just nothing to do with that. This is somebody dying hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
How do you know? How can you know?
Exactly. How can you know?
How would you know?
What is it? There's got to be something on.
Or is it just a supposition?
No. Like, I mean, it can't be just coincidence. There's too many points. I mean, look into this. There's so many times that you'll read about this sort of thing happening. So many stories about this sort of thing happening that it can't just be like some sort of coincidence. There has to be some weird sort of link, this sort of sixth sense almost.
Particularly if this is, let's call it a phenomenon, because I would say that it is. If this is a phenomenon that you're saying that you've heard about before and is like repeated and stuff.
Oh,
right?
many times.
Because I have never ever read up about it, so I don't know whether it happens to anyone else, and I've never talked about it with anybody. You know, because it's like you kind of feel a bit ridiculous. It's almost a bit like, oh, look at me, I could sense it, or whatever, you know. And you don't want to trade on that. I don't want to.
No. Yeah, it's like it's a lot of times it is like it when I'm talking to somebody like you who's not like an out and out believer who's like trying to go, yeah, I knew, I felt it, blah blah blah. It is a lot of times it is people who, you know, there's got to be some logical explanation.
Yeah,
but they can't explain what's happened, but something did, and they just knew instantly. Like you just said.
Well, there's no theatricality about it.
Exactly.
As far as I'm concerned.
They're not trying to prove anything. They're not going, this happened and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's something that is sad, traumatic to them.
Well, I'm more skeptical of that sort of stuff because it's like, well, you're just trying to make it about you.
And and I'm sure there are people out there who are like that.
Well, maybe,
but
maybe they're genuinely spiritual. I don't know. I'm not a religious person, so consequently, you know, the spirituality of people who are religious is something that eludes me. You know, but maybe I'm not meant to know about it.
No.
You know, again, I remain skeptical about that.
Yeah, it's like I'm not a religious person, but and people always there going, but you believe in the ghosts and the spirit world? Going, yes.
That's got nothing to do with religion.
I don't believe it. Religion. I believe that energy is never ending. It can't be destroyed. And I believe there's connections and shit.
Yeah.
Just because I don't believe in a ghost down on a cloud.
Yeah. The paranormal and what it may or may not consist of has got nothing to do with man's concept of religion and faith.
Exactly.
It's nothing to do with it. It's much more, funnily enough, in my view, and this is probably controversial, and apologies to any religious people who may or may not be listening. Don't suspect there are many, but there might be. You know, the paranormal is far more scientifically quantifiable than religion is.
It's very true. It is extremely true. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can't believe in a God that's let me down as much as God has in my life.
Yeah.
Consequently, I can only conclude it doesn't exist. So, you know, that's something I can categorically say I don't believe in.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not skeptical. I just don't believe it. You know, because there's no rational grounds for it. Yeah. However, that completely shits on another person who may very well feel differently. My cousin, for example, is very religious. You know, and that's fine.
Yeah, I'll never shit
I've only got a problem
beliefs.
with religion if it hurts people. You know, but that tends
sadly
to be,
it does a lot.
Well, actually, that tends to be people adopting religion as an expedient rather than the actual faith itself.
Yeah.
You know, what I don't accept is terrorism in the name of religion.
Yeah.
You know, I don't accept that.
I mean, when you look at things like religion, the fact that Henry VIII did an offshoot religion just so he could get divorced. You know?
Well, yeah. Well, look at the Church of England, created by Elizabeth I to try and unite the Catholics and the Protestants. You know, and you know, so she could actually increase her power base against the increased Catholic power from Spain. You know, this is a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
You know, but. Again,
they're all ghosts now.
Well, they are now, yeah. And I mean, I got an issue with it because, well, I suppose I haven't got an issue with religion. I've got an issue with what man does with it.
Yeah. It's what how people.
There are many moderate religious people who are perfectly happy with their faith and wouldn't hurt a fly, and that's fine. And I've got to go with that. You know, because I don't want to tar anybody with a brush, no matter who they are. You know, but
Scientologists.
I don't know very much about Scientology, I must say. I've only seen things on television, and I'm prepared to accept that's a one-sided viewpoint. The history of Catholicism and Protestantism is something I know quite a lot about.
Yeah.
You know, so I can talk about that with a degree of authority. What I can't talk about is Scientology because I know very little about it.
Basically, aliens, souls, lots of weird shit.
Auditing.
Tom Cruise, John Travolta,
Danny Masterson,
Will Smith. My
What
wife
are
saying
they
out your
covering?
goddamn
They
mouth.
seem to be covering up a lot of stuff, but that again is a version of the story that we've been shown by people like Louis Theroux. It's not necessarily the whole story.
I got books, baby. I've looked. I got obsessed.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. You're more informed than I am about that, so I can't really discuss it on any sort of serious level. I mean, but I think we can leave it that there is no real parallel, in my view, between a belief in the paranormal and a belief in religion. They're two completely separate things.
And personally, I'm the same about science. Because science gets proved wrong all the time.
Why'd you look at me for?
Because I know you're a non-believer. But what you were saying before, that story, it's what I've heard countless times now, especially since doing this podcast, which has been really interesting.
Okay.
More people are messaging me or coming up to me and talking to me about things exactly like what you've just told me. And it's like something I'd like to do a proper deep dive on them, like one of the episodes and stuff. But when we were talking before about like darkness, ghosts and shit, and seeing something in the daytime, you were saying something about that.
Yeah, so this one's interesting because I mean, it's very brief actually. I was riding a bicycle. I must have been about 16, 17 or something. I'm not really a very suggestive person. You know, I would say I was an imaginative person, but I don't imagine what I can't see in front of me.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so I'm riding my bike, and it was a spring morning, and I rode up to this bridge, and on the other side of the bridge was this person, and they just looked like so full of hate and like really malevolent, and I was just like, oh God, I don't know if I want to cycle past them. You know, it's like, because you're a little bit wary. You know, you're at that age, you're starting to get a little bit like you're aware that there are some bad people out there, and they might do you some harm. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just turn around and go. And I sort of like studied my handlebars in a sort of like a sort of like, well, I'll just sort of ignore you and hope he doesn't talk to me and all this kind of stuff. And then I looked up and he was gone. I was like, where's he gone then? And bearing in mind, like, all you can do is go over this bridge and it's a road that carries on, or a riverbank. Nowhere to be seen. Nothing, no houses, nowhere he could have gone. And I thought, well, I'll ride over the bridge and see if I can do nothing. And I'm talking about in the space of a second. Now, no one can disappear, you know, unless he's some kind of major prankster that jumped down a rabbit hole.
Oh, Batman.
Well, didn't have a cape on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the bridges are actually meant to be like a link between worlds as well.
really?
Are they?
What?
That's interesting.
Like a lot
You're
of things-
kidding me.
A lot of things when it comes to like ghost things is like on a bridge. It's like meant to be like a link between worlds.
Oh,
What?
How do you not know that?
I don't know that. That's new
I've
to
never
me.
heard that in my life.
I've not. That's
Really?
cool.
Yeah, apparently, if you believe that.
Well, yeah, you just brought new ghost things into my
Well,
my non-believer.
Well,
Yeah, it's
I-
quite a common thing on bridges, like crossroads and bridges and stuff.
Right. Wow. Huh. Okay. I mean, I mentioned this to somebody else I know, and he said, "Oh, is it that bridge in something like that?" I said, "Yeah, that's it." He said, "I've seen it too." I said, "When was
Oh,
this?" He said, "Oh, a couple of years ago." I said, "What did you see? Tell me what you saw." And he said, "Yeah, there's just this guy," and he described exactly how he was dressed, same clothes, everything, and I hadn't told him.
Yeah.
You know, because he had this smock on. That's the thing I remember, is that he looked like an artist.
Right.
For all he looked like somebody who'd been out painting. Right?
Yeah.
Like a sort of a
Well,
black.
I just got my chills up. I just got my chills up when you were saying that. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it's
It's
just weird, and he just described it. He said, "Yeah, he looked so pissed off. It was like really evil." I was like, what did you do?" And he said, "Well, I rode over the bridge at him." And I said, "Well, what happened?" He said, "Well, I was, I was watching where I was going. I looked up and he wasn't there. I said, well, what do you mean? It can't have taken you more than a second to cross this bridge. He said, well, no, it doesn't really, because you're talking about a bridge that's probably no longer than this room. Right?
Yeah.
So bearing in mind that I was there and he was pretty much where you are, right?
For the sake of the people listening, it's about
4 meters.
4 meters.
Yeah, if that. You know, we're talking about a little river here, a little stream. You know, and a small bridge, like one of those single lane country things, right? You know, like only one car's going over that at a time. You know, and the road just carries on either side, and there's the river stretches out, and other than that, it's open grassland.
Yeah.
So that I sort of was a bit taken aback when he said that to me, because I was like, well, this is weird.
Yeah.
You know, but we tried looking into it. Like, you know, is there any history here? We couldn't find anything. So that's where the skepticism comes back.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
But these are episodes that happened a couple of years apart. First of all, they're not like the same week.
Yeah.
You know. And the point, I hadn't given him some details which he described to me. He couldn't have known.
Yeah.
This
of
is
course,
not. This is not something. Yeah, and again, this guy's not prone to bullshit. You know, he wouldn't try and wind me up. You know, and besides which, if he can turn around and supply some details to me that I didn't, I hadn't told him. Because I actually hadn't thought it was relevant at the time. I just said, I saw this guy and he looked fucking evil, and then all of a sudden he disappeared. He goes, oh yeah, was he dressed such and such? I said, yeah. You know, and you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and the other thing is, like, I've got to point out, this is in broad daylight. This is not. I'm not seeing things.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not shadows.
I'm 16 years old. I'm not hungover. I'm not on LSD or anything
Yeah.
like that. You know, I'm sober. You know, it's mid morning. I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock, something like that. You know, sunny day.
Do you know if it was like a similar time when they saw him?
Don't know. Didn't ask him.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, you're talking about a kid out on a bike. You know, it's not going to be. It's not going to be late night, is it?
No, exactly. Yeah.
And even if it was, there's no street lights around there. You've just seen fuck all.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna go with kid on a bike in the daylight. You know? It's got to be. It's got to be, right?
Yeah.
So that's the one that's always sort of made me think.
I mean, that's a fucking good one. I mean, it could be that.
It's the corroboration that I can't explain to you.
And like, it could be the whole stone tape theory of ghosts, where it's like a tape when you're recording on a tape.
Okay.
And so it's been recorded.
Oh,
on
okay,
tape
yeah, I've heard something about that before.
It gets repeated.
The bridge point that you've made there.
Yeah, that's new.
That's new on me.
I'm not sure where I got that from. I think I have like.
That's cool. I'm going to start looking into that.
Yeah, I actually had to look on the internet. I can't see anything about it. But
Maybe you just know.
maybe I just know.
Holy shit! I hate bridges though.
Yeah, that one.
Fuck
Fine.
bridges.
I mean, I'm not. I've heard that
Yeah.
to be a thing before.
Yeah.
Well, oddly enough, it
like a
has kind of
archways or something.
it has kind of ended up with me having an irrational fear of being stuck on a bridge. You know, like when you go on a really
Nothing
big
irrational about that, to be honest.
well,
Look at the mad monk of wherever you were.
well, you know, like the Severn Bridge or the Forth Bridge or something like that. You
Yeah.
know, like massive structures. I mean, the Humber Bridge. You know,
Yeah.
bridges that take a long time to cross.
Yeah.
You know, like whenever I used to work in London for a bit, and I used to have to take the train from Greenwich up to Tottenham Court Road, and I used to take the Docklands Light Railway along the time, and that goes over the thing, and it's quite slow, and it was like, get over this
Fucking bridge.
yeah. Get over this river. I don't want to fall in. You know. Now I know they're safe. I know they're not going to collapse. You know. We have the technology these days.
I don't know. We've all watched Final Destination films, though.
Well, yes, we have, but you know, I'm aware that those are movies, but
Still fuck me up.
yeah,
Especially the surprise sequel, surprise prequel at the end of the.
I know, right? Shit.
Right?
well, you know, I've watched a few bridge destruction videos. You know, where the weather really tears them to pieces. and
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
It's like they just look like pieces of paper. I know they're not. I know they're like concrete
Yeah.
structures and everything. But it's like literally, they look like somebody. it looks like a cartoon. It's like, that's mad.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're talking extreme weather conditions, the like of which we'll probably never see in the UK. I think the most. I think the most.
Don't live in Huntsville, do you?
Well, I remember once where there was a tiniest earthquake that
Market Ray's in 2008.
no, it was before that. I reckon it was 2002, 2003.
I remember the 2008 one because I fell out of bed.
Yeah.
My mate did
Well, no, I mean that was, we felt that one over in Leeds.
Yeah.
I don't think to the same extent, but yeah, that was definitely an obvious tremor.
Yeah.
Tremors, bad movie.
Great movie.
Bad movie.
Tremors and Tremors 2 still
Oh,
stand
come
up,
on,
man.
Tremors 2, that's
With
terrible.
the ones with little walking ones. That's a fucking badass.
Weird, like desert snake thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tremors is
yeah.
bad. It's badass. Kevin Bacon's finest moment. Better than Footloose.
Yeah,
Better than Friday the 13th.
but I mean, no, those weird pterodactyl things in 2. I mean, come on, you're stretching it now.
Yeah.
The worm. I'll buy the worm a bit.
Yeah.
That could happen.
Oh, it definitely happened.
It's American.
I think it's based on a true story.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I'm basing it on nothing. Do you want to hear a ghost story I heard this last week?
Go on.
Yeah, I say, like, one of my favourite things since I've started this is people contacting me on emails, mrsschwaz_geeks@hotmail.com, or just meeting me when I've been out and about. And I was out the other Saturday, and I got talking to somebody, and she said she listened to the podcast.
Okay.
If you listen, nice one. That's fucking cool. Can't remember your name there. Was it Laura? I can't remember. But she's a police officer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And she was telling me, this great ghost story. Also really sad. Where they'd been called out on a welfare check.
Okay.
They hadn't seen this dude for a few days or anything. So could you go out and send a welfare check? So 2-3 coppers went out, knocked on the door. A guy answered, and they went, "Hi, we can you do a welfare check?" And the guy just went, "Oh yeah, he's upstairs." And he just walked off into the living room. So they all went upstairs and found, sadly, this man hanging in the bathroom. The man they found hanging in the bathroom was a man who just let him in the front door.
What?
Dressed the same,
That's a bit.
the same guy. They went back downstairs, nobody else in the house. And when she told me that, honestly, everything in my body ran cold. Just,
In that, like a really bastard.
oh yeah, proper wanker twin. This will surely affect my inheritance. But yeah, just like, that's just awful. It's like expecting him and just sending you over going,
It's weird
Oh,
that you walk into the living room and
well, I don't know if it's the living room, just walked away from through a door. Yeah, but just answered that door and just said, yeah, upstairs. But they had the exact same person, the exact same dress. And, it's like, and they all witnessed that together. And that person was, hate that story. Hate that story.
you really hope that's not a true crime story.
They
Looking
should-
for that one twin.
yeah.
Either that or some really sick bastard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just fucked. It's fucked. It's like I do love, like I said, I love hearing people's ghost stories, but every time I just then
That's
sit.
a bit grim.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Macabre.
You find I find with quite a few ghost stories there. It's never happy.
And yet the guy sounds kind of nonchalant.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, this is what had to happen. Like, yeah. Sees, yeah.
In which case, is he still in the house?
Well, I think so.
As a haunting.
Yeah, I think probably so.
Because that's one of those things where, like, if you're thinking about repetitive sightings,
Yeah.
which is, I suppose, where my story kind of fits in, because you're talking about a sighting a couple of years apart. Now, I mean, I have no further corroboration of that, so I'm prepared to accept. Could be a massive coincidence.
A massive, crazy coincidence.
A massive, crazy coincidence.
Where this
However,
person...
in your situation, or the story that the police officer told you, I mean, that's curious because if that door genuinely was answered, by a ghost, surely that breaks a couple of laws of ghosts, which is that they can't necessarily open doors or stuff like
What
that.
are the laws of ghosts? I mean, poltergeists can
Well,
do
I don't
all
know.
sorts of shit.
Yeah, but they're throwing stuff around. They're not really operating in a. The traditional inference of that, right, is like a poltergeist is a restless spirit that disturbs stuff.
Yeah.
In an effort to bring attention to themselves. This sounds more like, I don't know. I can't describe it as anything other than nonchalant behaviour. Yeah, corporeal behaviour.
Well, there's also other thing about sometimes ghosts are waiting on to pass on a message, and maybe that person's message was to let them know, look,
okay,
that's where it is.
Yeah, you got to find it. Yeah,
and then walking out of the room is them going, right.
That's it.
My
I'm
shit's
done. I'm done. I've done my job. Yeah, so that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but Rick, I got a ghost haunting in my house. We've talked about pretty much every podcast. The new shit that's happened. Like it started when we first moved in 2 years ago. We just sold that. We just sold the house. When we first started, it was just stupid shit like people getting locked in the toilet. It's like, I got so and so's got locked in the toilet, and then.
Never happened to me.
Nah, don't believe in you.
I'm not discounting it. I mean, my other story involves a potentially haunted flat. So I'm
looking forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but go on.
Yeah. So it started as that, and then there was things like knocking at the front door, and like loud, always 3 knocks, do, and I would be there and just catch it, look out the window, nothing there. Once we did it, and then we saw the gate just open and close, which is pretty freaky. I had it the other month where I took the dog out at about 7 a.m. When I got back, all the hobs were on full electric hobs, which, I mean, I only use front left because that's the best one. But all the hobs were on right, and then just
only a madman uses back right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Unless you're making a roast.
That's true.
You want to steam everything. Yeah, but I had it the other week where I was cutting up some carrots like a beast, and the cupboard where all the crockery is, one of it was slightly open, and a little fine china cup flew out, hit me in the forehead, landed on the floor, did not smash. It's fine china. Fine china, but proper like went. Turns
out it's plastic.
But yeah, I had it when I got back from holiday a few weeks ago, where I was just chilling with my dog, and the back door, there was it's like PVC door window, and there was like on the window, it sounded like. I just like looked at my dog. He's asleep. He's deaf and blind. I was like, "Come on, boy." Turned off all the lights in the house. Did not look at the window and just walked upstairs. He's just going, "Nah, not tonight. I'm jet lagged." But yeah, that house is we're just waiting for solicitors to sort the shit now so I can get out of there. Because Jeffrey can fuck off.
Jeffrey, that's the name I couldn't think of. I was thinking Barry for some reason.
But it's like I was saying about Charlotte's dad, Wayne, non-believer complete. And he went up. He came around one day and he went up to the toilet, came back down, drip white, and he's just like going, just be like locked in the toilet. So he was just in there and he just like locked behind him. He's like, it's awful. Never nice.
It's a weird door they've got.
But yeah, so
Yeah,
that was that.
I mean, got a faulty lock for us, don't
No, I don't mean that.
Yeah. Hob bastards. I'm not telling new buyers it's a ghost. Because what I make sure a point of when I go look
well,
at a house.
you should. Maybe you could get more for the house.
God damn it.
You didn't think of that one, did you?
But yeah,
Flugged it to most haunted.
that's it. God
Yeah.
damn.
Do you want a genuine location,
Yeah.
lads? Yeah.
Like that one in, where is it? Pontefract, yeah.
East Drive, we're supposed to be going there.
Yeah, we're going to do a live episode there. But yeah,
Pontefract.
there's like that poltergeist house in Pontefract. They made a film about it. There's loads of docs about it.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Well, can you stay there?
Yeah, you can
really?
do a all-nighters. It's like 60 quid. You can have as much tea, coffee,
Oh, give us a shout.
yeah, tea, coffee, or cordial as you like. In the morning, they give you a bacon sandwich. You do seances. It's the Black Monk of Pontefract.
I stayed in a haunted hotel up in Whitby, but nothing happened.
No.
Yeah, it's a complete non-story.
Can I bring my own spirits?
Yeah.
Yeah, you go on.
Cool. I'll bring my curacao.
But when I go look at a house, I always ask 2 questions. What's your spider situation? Don't like spiders. And what's your ghost situation? And I knew the people who bought this house off, and they went, oh yeah, no ghosts. Lying fucks.
Well, maybe they didn't know.
Yeah, maybe it was just us.
Well,
yeah, it's true.
But it could have.
Spider ghosts.
He could have attached.
I wonder if there's a correlation between spiders and ghosts.
Oh man, don't say that, because that's going to be.
A ghost spider.
That's
No,
that's
what
gonna
I
ruin my
mean,
life.
what I mean is like there is this belief, isn't there, that like certain animals like are more attuned to like this
Dogs and
stuff.
cats especially, yeah.
But not just them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like, let's face it, if a spider is disturbed, it will run away. Right? So, like, I disturbed a spider in my house the other day. I mean, I don't like them either.
No,
We're talking about a tiny thing, right?
Yeah.
And it just like, I just moved something on a shelf, and it was like, "Whoa," and run down, and like I never saw it again. It's gone somewhere else, you know. But you know, I think it was only because I disturbed it. But like, I'm sort of going to work on the assumption that because there are spiders in my house, I know it's not haunted, because they're not running away from anything. So what was your spider situation in that house?
There's no fucking spiders in this house. Oh my god!
What are you more scared of, ghosts or spiders?
Yes, ghost spiders. Andy Hawkins just ruined my life.
I reckon I hate spiders more than ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, look, I would never kill a spider, right? Because I know what they're for.
Yeah.
I know their place in the whole scheme of things.
Yeah.
I know their function, you know, apart from tarantulas, which, quite frankly, if I found a tarantula in my house, that thing's getting slippered.
Oh, camel spiders. Have you seen those?
No, I don't want to know.
I'm going to tell you anyway.
What about the funnel web things as well? I got bitten by a spider in the States, right, on my foot, and a hole opened up in my foot. I was on a bloody walking stick for 2 weeks.
Well, isn't that how one of the guys out of Slayer died?
What?
Jeff
I think he got bit by a spider.
And the guy's out of what?
He got bit by a spider.
No, he
Jeff
got
Hanneman
he
from
got some kind of
Slayer.
flesh-eating
Oh.
bacteria.
Yeah, from a spider bite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that, but
Yeah. Fucking spiders.
I was working on the Warp Tour.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So that would have been the Eastern
Was that
Seaboard.
Sorry, so
No,
far,
the Dam. That was.
Oh, was that Dam? Yeah.
Yeah, the Dam did the Warp Tour. I think it was 2002, 2003, something like that. And I got bitten by something. Definitely, I reckon, because like this hole opened up in my foot.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was like, how the fuck have I got bitten by this thing? Must have been on the bus.
How big was the hole?
Well, I could put my finger in it.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was getting to the point where I couldn't walk, and it was like, you're gonna have to get some shots.
Oh,
You're gonna have to.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, it's $200, but like, I can't. You know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do it.
So we realised that spiders are scarier than
Well,
ghosts.
what I was a bit like, you can fumigate this fucking tour bus, because like,
Yeah.
I can only have been the only time I take my shoes off
Is in your tomb of a
is
bunk.
either when I get in the shower at a hotel, which is possible.
Yeah.
You know, shower. You know, spiders are in drains and all the
Yeah.
rest of it, or when I'm sleeping in the
Yeah.
bunk on the bus. You know, so if I've been bitten something that's roaming this bus, you know.
Then fumigate
I
this
mean, the
fucker.
bus driver took it seriously. He said, "Okay, man. Well, I'll do what I can." You know, but I mean, God knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, it got bad. It got really bad.
Yeah.
And I got these shots and gradually healed, but it took months.
But yeah, I bet. Now it's like these camel spiders. They're honestly,
How big?
you can't see it at home. They're about this big.
Well, the size of a plate then.
Yeah.
Right.
But when they run at you, they run on 4 legs, and the other 4 are up like that.
Oh, okay.
And they
That's
jump.
that's proper arachnophobia. That
Yeah, and they're called camel spiders because they jump and bite camels.
And also, they actually want to stand. They're not actually trying to attack you. They just want to stand in your shadow because they're in the desert. They just want to stand in your shadow.
All right.
They want some shade.
Yeah, but this
They
business,
just-
right?
This yes.
That's definitely a let's try and head off the predators kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it's like the whole snake thing. Like I've not really encountered many snakes, but I saw there was a rattlesnake once. We were in the desert just outside Vegas. We were just mooching around this total ghost town, appropriately enough. You know the kind of place, disused gas station. There was
completely.
it was like some kind of casino thing, you know, and that was all there was. You know, it was a total nothing there.
Reno.
Well, it was that Wendover way, you know, that kind of way. I was just sort of minding my own business, and the techer was like a guy from Texas. He goes, "We need to fucking move. There's a rattlesnake over there." I was like, "What?" He goes, "Just right there." It was like a couple of feet away from me. He was like, "Yeah, let's just get a move on."
Yeah, that's fair enough, sir.
You know, don't be excitable, but let's just get out.
Yeah.
You know,
Walk away slowly, pal.
yeah.
But you've also got another ghost story, you say?
Yeah. So this feeds into the haunted house thing because I had this flat, and the first clue was that no matter whether it was the middle of summer or whatever, it was never warm. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, the heating was shit, but like, you know, you wouldn't have it on in the summer, you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
And it was a ground floor flat. It was always cold. You know, and the bedroom in particular was always pretty cold. I thought nothing of it. I thought, well, this is quite cool, actually, because like I'm in the summer, you know, I'm not going to sweat my ass off.
You can have your feet out of the bed.
Yeah, it's great, you know. Yeah, I remember it was the summer. I was asleep, and I remember I woke up and the room was freezing, and I thought, oh, I've kicked the covers off or whatever, you know. And then I realised that the covers were on, and then I kind of like looked up, and I couldn't really, you know, I couldn't really visualise properly, but there was a figure at the end of the bed. And I was like, what is that? And I tried to sit up, and I couldn't sit up, and I felt these icy fingers around my neck, right? And at this point, I'm starting to shit myself.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm like, what is going on? Is this a dream? You know, and like, you know, my missus at the time was asleep next to me, snoring away, you know. Sorry. But, you know, definitely asleep, you know.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, this isn't a dream. What is going on? I tried to sit up, and I was like, you know, and in the end, I just was like, I was being held down, you know. And I was like, fuck this. I can't cope with this. Like, and actually, so I kind of fuck off kind of thing.
Of course.
And managed to sit up, and it was just all gone. So, I mean, God knows what that was.
Can you remember anything about the person in the bed?
No, couldn't. You know, an indistinct figure.
Yeah.
You know, this is the one where
Big
I'm a
black
bit,
ship.
Yeah.
Icy fingers.
A figure.
Yeah.
A figure for sure.
And
But the thing with the fingers, right, is it's very light. Okay, I'll show you. I'll show you how light it was. Right, it's like this.
oh yeah.
Right.
So just...
Really light. Okay.
I was just attacked.
We're still here, folks.
Yeah.
And it's really. I'm prepared to accept that could be sleep paralysis. Could be.
Yeah, but I also believe that sleep paralysis has got something to do with the paranormal.
Well, that depends on which side of the scientific fence you fall, because
The right side.
The science, well, the science will tell you that it's to do with waking up from rapid eye movement sleep, and your brain is doing this filling in the blanks thing that I was talking about earlier, which I can't remember the name of. It's like, I know it begins with P. I'll look it up.
I'm going to send you a documentary.
Okay.
A really good one.
Yeah?
Yeah, about sleep paralysis.
Well, all I know is that I really had to like. I mean, it's in its way, it's more mundane than the broad daylight story.
Yeah.
Because it's too easily explainable as something else. However, like, I've never lived in a house that cold, and it was a burning hot summer. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a warm summer. I mean, you know, in the daytime, you'd step out of that house and you'd have a sweat on in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, and after that, I said to my missus, I said, I don't want to stay here anymore. I want us to get out of here, and I'm not going to sleep in this bedroom either. And she said, why? What's the problem? I said, well, I just had this bad time with things.
Always trust your senses.
And she said, all right, okay, well, we'll move in the other room then. And I said, well, it's a single bed, you know. And she said, it doesn't matter, let's just go in there. And we just gave the notice and got the hell out of there, you know. Mm-hmm. And I got out of there, and like we moved again. We were just renting at the time, and we moved quite far away because I was like, I don't want to even be in this town. Like it's too weird for me.
Which town was it?
It was Peterborough.
Oh,
so,
yeah, of course.
You know, I mean, who the hell wants to stay in Peterborough?
Yeah. And like the Met Lounge is cool, you know.
Well, yeah, but only a masochist stays in Peterborough.
No, yeah, it's very true.
You know, in terms of what it's got going on, there's not many places
Not
that
much.
got less going
Yeah.
on. So we moved quite a distance away, you know, to this town, the village actually, called Challington, which was, I don't know, about sort of 10 miles away. And it was a nice house, and I felt fine there, and like there was just nothing weird going on or anything like that, you know.
No longer getting softly strangled by the night demons.
Well, it's just weird, isn't it? You know, I hadn't been watching any films that would leave me in a suggestible state or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't tally with anything I've ever seen in a film either.
Yeah.
You know? So I try and be pretty logical about stuff, you know, and pretty rational, and like I'm not that suggestible. And I haven't drunk for 20 years. So it's really not that.
Yeah.
You know, and I haven't taken any substances, you know, for, you know, the same amount of time. So
yeah.
you know, it's not that.
Mm-hmm.
It just can't be.
Exactly.
You know?
No, it's like, this is why I wanted to get you on as a guest, because I knew.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else as well. You know, a very unfriendly person spiked me with acid once when I was about 18 or something. You know, and like I can tell you that experience was fucking nothing like this. You know, this is not. Quite frankly, I did find it scary, and I was like, what the hell's going on? You know, and I was glad to get out of there.
Yeah,
you know, and I felt better once I did get out of there.
Yeah, of course.
Probably because I had a negative association. But I'm at a loss to really explain it. But my wife never, my missus, never experienced anything like that. Ever.
Well, yeah, not everybody does. Not everybody does. People can go through their whole lives not experiencing shit. And then he could be their partner.
Why? Because they're not attuned to it.
Yeah. Because everyone's got a different like chemical balance or whatever.
Yeah.
Different tuning.
I mean, it's not. I don't even want to talk about different levels of suggestibility, really, because I don't think I'm that suggestible.
No, I mean the story you told about evil dude on the bridge.
Yeah, well,
I mean, another person doing the exact same thing.
Right.
And that's not being suggestible. That's two people saying the exact same thing happen.
An unknowledgeable corroboration.
Yeah. It's like the story I just told about the police officers.
Well, yeah, there were several there.
Yeah,
so they all say
people
the
there,
same thing, right?
Everyone's got that same story.
Now that one's weird.
Yeah, creepy as fuck.
That's the one that's really weird.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, it's just like, why? Why is he there? On the other hand, you could explain it, but what interests me about it actually is the fact that there probably is a reason for the behaviour, and also it was quite. There's no real sort of like expression of evil or anything like that. I mean, obviously, what had happened was grim as fuck.
Yeah.
But this ghost, if it was a ghost, was doing a job.
Yeah.
You know,
just making sure that it was found.
Which is far more like I could accept that as a ghost, because I don't really buy into all the scary evil shit. You know, it's because that most of that's campfire crap, right? You know, it's more about like, you know, by that I mean, you know, the Scooby Doo, let's make this deliberately a bit creepy and stuff and a bit scary, and it's like which is why the whole icy fingers thing is like, it's just weird, and I was scared, and I don't get scared that easily. I don't like heights, but you know, so I don't really do roller coasters very well.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's sort of irrelevant here because that's just not going on. You know, as far as I know, like as far as I recall, I wasn't in the middle of a dream or anything.
Yeah.
So I don't, and you dream when in rapid eye movement sleep. So I don't really think I was in that state.
I mean, of all the guests I've had on this, more than 50% have had that exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah, and that's
In
why.
what way?
In pretty much the exact same thing, pin down a figure.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. There's an amazing documentary about it. This is something that goes on all over the world with people seeing the exact same thing. And sometimes they've got a hat on. Sometimes there's footsteps before they get pinned down. It's an extremely popular thing that keeps getting brought up again and again.
I've never
and again.
really researched it, and as I said,
Yeah.
I didn't listen to other episodes of the podcast because I didn't want to prejudice myself.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah.
So this is genuinely something that's just happened to me. Well, what I will say in my case is I wasn't aware of arms being reached out or anything. The figure didn't move.
Yeah. No.
You know?
Always the same.
Oh, really?
Always the same.
Okay. I mean, I could not describe it.
What we always find is that if I found like a few times with people who've not even been on the podcast where this haven't, when they've been able to, if they're in bed with somebody, once they can touch them, everything seems to come back. But every single person pretty much has seen the exact same thing.
In my case,
Sleep paralysis demons.
Yeah. It's like, but like a few have had like the footsteps before. They could hear coming along the corridor.
I woke up and it was there.
Sorry?
It was there. I woke up and it was there.
Yeah.
No
Well,
footsteps or anything.
a few people like it's just there at the end of the bed. Always a big black shape.
Yeah.
Always this like it feels almost soft.
It wasn't
pushed
an
down.
imposing height. It was the height of a normal human being.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's not
It wasn't like some kind of like weirdly distorted thing. It's not like that at all.
There's been stories of that as well.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Impish creatures.
there is
nothing like that.
But a lot of the times it's just a big tall figure.
It's just a shape.
Yeah, and like they don't actually come to you, but you can feel as soon as you see them.
Yeah.
They feel softly, but you are not going to be able to move.
Oh, so the soft hands is a thing?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, really? Oh.
I've heard of the choking thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, I will.
Is it choking or is it?
No.
Or is it sometimes it's on
pushing.
the shoulders or what?
It's normally around the neck, but always getting pushed down.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that tallies.
Yeah.
Explains a lot of kinks.
Yeah. Well, I don't get. Yeah.
Not shaming you.
The way I broke it was by speaking out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that is meant to be a thing as
Oh, really?
Touching or speaking out loud, so you can break. To get some
Well,
sort of attention.
I couldn't
away
reach
from
out,
it.
but what it was, I kind of struggled against it.
Yeah.
And tried to sit up and was like, "Fuck off," kind of thing.
You're getting annoyed at this.
Yeah,
Well, a little bit, yeah, and a little bit like, what is going on?
Like-
Like as in, you just need to fucking leave because, like, I don't want this. I don't know what this is. And if somebody's playing a fucking trick on me, then get fucked because, like, I'm not into that.
Yeah, this is not a cool trick.
No.
For the-
I'm not into scaring people. You know.
Before the era of YouTube pranksters.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just a prank, bro.
Well, yeah, we're at least 10 years before YouTube with this because I mean this has got to be like.
Has to be 1995 with 10 years for YouTube because YouTube came out.
Oh really? All right, then 5 years before. So I reckon it's like 2000, 2001.
But yeah,
I'm quite an archivist when it comes to
Okay, no, fair enough. I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah.
I thought
I
it was
know
later.
YouTube was invented because too many people were searching for the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction. And the guy, made it so it could happen.
Elephant at the zoo. That's the first video on YouTube.
But I think we've hit a lot of interesting shit tonight, man.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's given me a lot more to think about and research and go
the
down.
one
many
thing
more
which is
rabbit
frying
holes.
my brain is that you're saying that you've had independently other people say sort of similar things. It's
To two of your stories.
particularly this thing of the second incident.
Yeah.
Because that's what I don't. Yeah.
Also, I need to see this documentary because it's a fantastically
I'll
scary
check it out.
documentary. I think it won quite a few prizes. And
Right.
then you find out when they were making this documentary how they find out this happens everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere, not located in one sort of place.
No,
any
no.
any country you go to, and it's always the exact same shit. The exact same person. The exact
I wonder
same
whether that just means it's like it's a collective subconscious thing. You know, if I was to look at the scientific side of it for a minute, which I'm going to pursue because I want to exhaust it. Right?
You need to watch the documentary because it'll blow your mind. Because honestly, these people
Take DMT.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it.
But you see, the thing which makes me stop and think, right, is because the whole sleep paralysis thing and this business of the mind filling in the blanks, my mind didn't fill in any blanks because there was there were no features, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like all of a sudden this demonic face becomes available.
Yeah, there's a shape.
You know,
There's a shape.
I mean-
and then there's a feeling, and there's a lack of being able
but I
to
mean,
do it.
you know, I remember like the first time I saw The Exorcist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, as crude as those special effects may be these days,
Mm-hmm.
there's still something about. There's a couple of scenes which are still like, that's really brutal. Like,
Oh, yeah,
the,
of
the
course.
head turning around thing.
Yeah,
I still can't really watch it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Backwards crab walk.
Oh, the outtake thing.
That wasn't in the original.
Yeah, that's an outtake. Yeah, it's in the book, and the pissing on the floor thing's in the book.
Yeah.
But that was cut. Because what it is there's an astronaut at a party, which her mother gives, and she crab walks down the stairs, and she looks at the astronaut, and she says, "You're going to die up there," and then pisses on the floor.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, now that's in the. I mean, the book is like. Have you read the book?
No, I've never read the book.
Read the book.
Yeah.
Because it's way better than the film ever was. I mean, the film in
fantastic.
its way is brutal, and I mean, you used to not be able to get it in the UK.
Yeah, it was banned for a long time.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, so the way I saw it was this guy at the local video shop sold X-rated stuff under the table. So it's like, you know, you pay him 20 quid and you could get this. And I remember we all, like, three of us lived in this house, and we just clubbed together and got it. And I remember watching it and being confused as to why Tubular Bells was the soundtrack. That's the first thing. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, but it's good. It works. You know?
It works.
And I couldn't listen to it in the same way ever again.
That wasn't made for the film, was it?
Nope.
That soundtrack?
No. Tubular Bells came out 73. The Exorcist is around that sort of time.
And the first true sequel to it is coming out this year.
What do you
Really?
mean, man?
Yeah. Because they did an Exorcist 2.
Well, they did Legion, didn't they?
And
And,
they did like Exorcist 2, the record, and Exorcist 3, and then
Exorcist, this time it's personal.
all this sort of stuff. But
Exorcist
yeah,
Genesis.
What was
the
the one?
actual true one with the one who plays the mother, she's in this new one. It's like the actual new one's coming out.
Really?
Yeah, this
Ellen
year.
Bernstein.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Still alive, which struck me.
Fucking hell. What was? Yeah, because Exorcist 2 is the one
The
with
terrible one.
that's really bad, and then there's Legion
Yeah, well, Exorcist 3 is the one in the
with
hospital.
the scissors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Just
he's
terrifying.
and Father Karras is in the cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the is he in the padded cell? Or
He's
something?
in the padded cell,
yeah. And that
Yeah.
was
Oh,
Right, I was a bit like, yeah, what the hell? I'm glad you got the lights.
Kick my butt.
Yeah, I remember watching. I mean, that scissor scene is pretty. It's
Yeah.
frightening.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's bad.
Gets you.
But that's the only thing. There's maybe one. There's an Exorcist scene towards the end of it. Yeah, it's pretty heavy. Isn't it?
Rules.
And I think there was something in that which I was watching. It was like, yeah, okay. But everything else, I mean, to be honest, most of that stuff actually pales beside the Sixth Sense.
Oh yeah,
Now, do you remember? I mean, good twist on that film, but the moment on that film which made me fucking jump in the cinema.
The tent.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girl in the tent.
Yeah.
With all the sick coming out.
Yeah.
Proper fucking
Yeah.
It's proper fucking
Horror movie when we're outside now.
Horror rain.
What a great thing to fucking edit out.
Before we get to the end of this, sir, have you seen the new Evil Dead Rise?
No.
Single best horror movie I've ever seen in
Really?
my life. Absolutely insane.
Okay.
Folks, it's one of those movies where we're in a cinema full of people and like everyone's like talking and shit, and it's intense from the start, and it ended, and everyone walked out silent. Took everything they had with
do
them.
the same thing with like the Evil Dead remake that you went to.
The Evil Dead remake I enjoyed, but
Right.
that was
It wasn't
doesn't
the same.
even touch this.
Right, okay.
Such a good film.
I mean, I remember
Bruce Campbell.
kind of the same thing with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Actually,
There was a
Original.
it was a cinema silence.
Yeah. You know, it's fucked you up when
Well,
nobody
I mean,
talks.
just what's going on in that house
Yeah.
towards the end, and then obviously they get out and he's there with his chainsaw doing that
Yeah,
crazy
yeah, of
dance.
course,
It's
yeah.
like fucking hell, you know. Again, it's Toby Hooper, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He knows what to do, that man.
yeah. He knows a good creepy film.
Oh god, dear. Yeah.
I mean, I do think the Julian Beck character in Poltergeist 2 is one of the creepiest
freakiest.
villains.
When he's outside the garden.
Yeah, it's like let me in, and like
Yeah, he's singing, and then the little girl's
God
talking
is
to her mum.
in His holy temple.
Is he the one that's on the bridge?
Sorry,
Is he the one that's on the bridge?
could be.
Oh, what? When they're out in the town? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And
With a big T.
yeah,
with
there
a
you
big
go.
T,
There
it's
you
like,
go. Yeah.
Hello,
Full circle with the
he's got
bridge.
that soft southern voice. Hello,
I
darling.
think I know what you mean. But like
Yeah.
full circle with the
He
bridge.
he,
which bridge
he
is okay.
delivers it in just a way. I think.
But that
I
film,
thought you need some help.
guys,
He does this weird sing-song
Yeah.
thing.
Like,
It's
Bob
fucking
Dylan.
creepy.
yeah.
Just the way. Yeah. It's kind of, but he's kind of riffing on the Southern Preacher thing.
Yeah.
Ah, right.
You know,
Well,
I think.
I remember
might
being
be some
being a
of the
kid
original.
watching that film though, and even the part where the little girl picks up her toy phone, and it goes to her mum and he going, "It's grandma, blah blah," and the grandma's just dying. And
Yeah.
She wants to tell you that she loves you to the mum, and she's gonna miss you. And it's just like going, that made me realise my own mortality. You know,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Well, of course, the point with that is that it's the grandmother that brings her back.
Yeah.
You know, towards the light. That's because the whole point is that they use Taylor's staff through the fire to kill the beast,
Yeah.
right? And then they all think it's done, and then the light shines and it's the grandmother, you know. And the idea is, I think that the grandmother has crossed over and is happy and everything.
Yeah.
But knows that Carol Ann is too young to go.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was that the beast wanted the life force that Carol Ann had. That was the premise, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. It's a long time since I've seen it.
Great film. Freaks the fuck out
Remake
of
was fucking terrible.
Oh, it was.
Oh god, we went to see that. It's like there's like that drill thing in the wardrobe.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
come
it's-
on.
But before we go, I've got one last question I ask every single guest.
Season
I know now that you've got a partner, you've got kids, but
Yeah.
let's take you back to when you were a single man.
Okay.
Would you, Andy Hawkins,
Yes.
fuck a ghost?
What?
Would you have sex with a
What
ghost?
kind of question is that? I don't-
Kesha has had sex with a ghost.
Who?
Kesha. Pop star.
If you believe that, you believe anything. But all I will say is, so does Dan Aykroyd in Ghostbusters. So
Yes, he does. He always
Yeah.
gets brought up.
that, and it always gets edited out on the TV.
Yeah, he does.
But it's in the book.
It is in the book.
I don't think he had a choice in that.
Would I? I don't know. I
Sexy
can't.
ghost.
What a question.
We're only 2 hours 34 minutes in, so take your time.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
I I suppose you could lay the ghost. That's a terrible joke, isn't it?
Ley lines.
Yeah, ley lines. God, oh, mate.
Well,
There you go.
Rain's gone now.
Well, now you've really lowered the tone.
I always like to
there.
leave it on a low tone.
Yeah.
For people.
The rain has gone now.
The rain has passed. So,
Yeah.
Andy, I'd like to thank you for coming on, Geeks
Oh, it's
and
been a
Ghosts.
pleasure, man.
Yeah, it's been great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Great stories.
Well, and if you go to Pontefract, then give us a call.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should get
For that-
the whole,
that-
like,
Yeah,
I'll go.
come along, man.
I'll go.
I know we're going to take some of the old guests because Carol Hodge is going to come.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Piper's going to come. And
Oh great! So I'm gonna need so much more new fucking equipment. That I
yeah,
don't have
I'll
right
get
now.
some clip on mics. Yeah, come along. We'll have a good
Yeah.
night. We'll do
I'm
a live
really
episode.
curious.
That's not
I'm
how
really
live
curious.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a live episode is coming. I think next week we're going to have Sean Ho from Random Hand, hopefully. So that'll
Yeah.
be good. So, Andy Hawkins, thank you to you. Thank you to Callum, as always.
Absolutely.
Let's keep it spooky, people. Ooh.